Board Thursday, March 19th, 2026 meeting. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first matter on the agenda this evening is appeal number 3202. The applicant, James and Suzanne Slattery, property located at 3 Meadowcross Road, requests an extension of time to obtain a permit under Section 280-144 of the Code for 12 months until April the 7th, 2027. And we have a letter from their counsel explaining why they need the extension and what they've been doing so far. Nick?
Evening, Nick Cornelia representing the applicant on this matter. You may recall this is a matter on Meadowcrest Road. We're here since the zoning code says that you need to get a building permit within 12 months of the date of authorization of the variance. This was a matter on which relief from man-made steep slopes were granted. It was steep slope around the existing home. That existing home was to be demolished, and a two-lot subdivision applied for to the township. We proceeded with that in due diligence and everything. Actually, the township came back at one point and said you have to come back to the board and get a variance because now the plan has changed, which we did, which is the appeal that, which is the extension we're asking for this evening. So we proceeded with the two-lot subdivision, a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth. Township denied it. So I have since appealed that in the letter. The appeal hadn't quite been filed yet. It's now been filed about 2 weeks ago. And all we're requesting now is that the relief be extended for another year. Probably going to be back before you again by the time the appeal works through Common Pleas Court and possibly other courts. And so we're just asking that it be continued. Nothing's changed. The house is still there. The property remains unchanged from the time that we had the hearing on it. I do have a copy of the appeal, which includes a bunch of exhibits, the reason for the appeal, the zoning decision, and things of that nature, which I can hand up if the board desires. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, it's on the record.
It's on the record.
It's on the transcript.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any comments? Is the board okay with extending this until April 7th, 2027? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
The next appeal is, well, I should announce that appeal number 3202 has been continued. The hearing on that matter has been continued to April at the request of the parties.
Actually, it's 3233, Mr. Chairman.
3233. Thank you. The next appeal is appeal number 3251. The applicant, Philip Johnson, property located at 215 West Lancaster Avenue and zoned Wayne Business Develop, what is it? WBOD. Applicant requests a variance from section 280-53.9 to allow electric vehicle charging stations. Variance from 280-53.12B3 for the proposed project will result in the loss of 3 existing off-street parking places. Further, the plan indicates that the 4 existing off-street parking places will be converted for exclusive use by EV charging vehicles. As a result, the number of off-street parking places for the principal retail use has been reduced by 7. Variance from 280-53.14 requires that all mechanical, electrical equipment mounted on the ground shall be located in the rear of the building and screened from view. The proposed location is in violation of these provisions. And this matter was continued to tonight from January 15th, 2026 meeting. Go ahead.
One thing, my name is Pete Adushani. Philip Johnson is no longer with Al Services, so
I'm sorry, you have to speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry. My name is actually Pete Iudiciani. It's Iudiciani. Phil Johnson. Iudiciani.
Do we have the handheld?
Oh, this one?
That's it. Yeah, turn
Is
it
it
on.
on?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So I'm representing Al Services. We are.
You have to be sworn in, please. That's the next
Oh.
step.
I do.
Okay, and state your name and spell it wrong.
My name is Pete Iudiciani. It's Iudiciani. I just go by Pete. So
What is your relationship or status with the applicant here?
I work for Al Services. I took over as the engineering manager on this job. We are the engineer of record. We represent Electrify America and Wawa. We filed a LOA, so we're designing the site and we're
Okay,
filing.
hold on for just a moment. I have a question for our solicitor. Well,
I think there is a letter.
There's nothing in the packet authorizing you to act on behalf of the applicant. There's also a subsidiary question I had when I was looking at this. The applicant, in fact, is really Wawa. Wawa is a corporation, and I think there should be a lawyer representing the applicant under those circumstances. But this isn't, with all due respect to you, I don't know that you're qualified under the present set of circumstances to represent this application.
Understood.
What company are you with?
I am with Al Services.
Al Services. There is a letter from Al Services that was signed off, I believe.
There is an LOA that was signed by Wawa that we provided in our application packet.
Dated October 13th, 2025.
I saw that.
Mr. Chair?
I
Okay.
saw that, but that's not the applicant.
We applied because we're the design builder. We're designing it, and we also intend to construct the site.
I don't think the proper person is here or entity is here to represent and speak on behalf of the owner. The owner apparently has given Wawa the permission to do this. That's what's sitting there, I understand. So it's the original Wawa store here in town. And Wawa is a corporation, and I think corporations have to be, in these types of matters, I'm prepared to stand corrected, but they need to be represented by counsel.
Well, they did, actually, Wawa isn't the applicant, Mr. Chairman. They technically, the Al Services is the applicant, which isn't that unusual. They've listed themselves. Wawa is not the applicant. Wawa has authorized Al to file this application, which isn't unusual. We see that with sign companies and other times, and sometimes engineering firms.
But there's nothing in here that
Yeah, he's,
Well-
Wawa authorizing Al.
yeah.
Well,
That letter from Al just says,
it is signed by the Caracalian 215 Trust.
they own the property.
They own the property, right.
Right.
So wouldn't that be?
Yeah, the owner can authorize someone
owner
to make,
could authorize
to bind the
that.
property with a zoning board decision.
And
That's-
they were aware that of this hearing because we were originally on that one, the one in January that they were on, and they requested us to move it so there was no confusion between the two hearings. I'm sorry. So yeah, they're aware of this. They authorized us to represent them. That's why they asked us to move it from the original one on January because they didn't want any confusion. I'm good with whatever you gentlemen would like to do. I'm just here trying to get a project built and, add some amenities for the surrounding community to use at the.
Okay, thank you. it's a little,
It is confusing. The letter's on
Yeah.
Al's letterhead, but it's signed by the owner.
yeah, it's, it's just a little bit off center from the type of situation that we have, that well, again, why, you said something at the very beginning that somebody left the company. I didn't quite follow that. Say, who is the person who left?
The gentleman, Philip Johnson, who was on, he filed with the zoning board. He was the one that put together the application. He was previously in a engineering manager's role and then took over a permitting role, and he has recently took another position at a different company. That's why his name was on all the paperwork.
How long ago did he move on to another company?
About a week ago. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're here, you put you have this documentation here. Is everybody comfortable with proceeding?
Yeah, you have the authority from the owner to proceed. I don't know how the application's going to go, but
Right,
you have the
right.
authority from an owner of a
Okay,
property.
so we're
to
over
buy
that
it.
hump, so why don't you start with your presentation, please?
Yeah, so you already swore me in, so I apologize. Like I said, he recently left, so what we're proposing is to put in two electric vehicle chargers. It's going to be CCS and NACS to service multiple vehicles.
And if you sit down, it might be a little better if it's right into my mouth,
All right.
and then the mic is closer to you. Oh, you don't have to.
I don't have to move it. Am I good? All right. So we are proposing putting in two electric vehicle chargers that are going to service 4 stalls. They're going to provide CCS and NACS connections for multiple electric CCS and NACS nozzles for multiple types of electric vehicles. We have to put in a new transformer and a switchgear, which is why you're seeing a larger stall loss, because we have to take up 2 spots to put in a new transformer and a switchgear to power the dispensers. We're also switchgear. It's and a transformer. We're also upgrading the existing transformer to better service the store and get service for the dispensers. The way I understand it, the front of the store is out of the question, or is there a variant way that we could apply for a variance to put the gear in the front? Or should we totally move? Okay.
We can't, if your application still has questions like that, we can't give you advice.
Okay, well,
Counsel on that.
Yeah, we would like to put the gear along Lancaster Avenue.
Here's the way it would work. You have the drawings and the diagrams, and you've done this before, I understand, from what you've said. All right? So you should be going through the drawings and showing what you intend to do and why, at the end of the day, why there is a hardship that justifies a variance.
Okay, so the gear we're proposing putting in the front of the store. Right now, we're not showing screening, but we could certainly put screening around it. The proximity to the existing transformer makes this the best spot because it limits the disturbance to the public, to the store, and it's the shortest run. I actually been to this store a couple times. I stopped before. There's no good spot behind this store due to an existing fire lane. People park there, and putting it in the back of the store would disturb the fire lane and the flow of traffic behind it. Wawa has chosen these 2 spots because they're underutilized and they're in that corner. That's what they
I
told
wouldn't
me.
describe anything about that parking lot as
Yeah,
underutilized.
like I said, I've been there twice. It was not on peak hours, so forgive me if I misspeak on that. But they're looking at it as adding an amenity. I don't think we don't have any proposal to put electric vehicle charging only. They're not going to really enforce that. But obviously, they want people to utilize it for a charge.
When you say they're not really going to enforce it, are you saying that if somebody pulls into Wawa and pulls into the charging station, but isn't going to charge their car, but is going to go in and buy coffee, get a hoagie or whatever else, buy milk, whatever else they have in there, you're not going to boot their car?
No, they're not going
or
to
tow it away?
No, they're not going to call a tow truck or they're not going to
Okay.
boot them. They're not going to ticket. They can't ticket them. It's just it's courteous. I've parked at them before and ran in the store and been out in 5 minutes. So no, they're not going to put electric vehicle parking only on those. Would they want them to be? Probably, but we're not. It's not going to be enforced. So we do understand that because they're not standard stalls, you're losing existing stall count. But the big stall count loss is from the new transformer and the new switchgear. We've looked at other spots on the property. On the other side of the store, you have that shared driveway access. You would create a queuing, and it would not be good. We've looked at this area, and due to the underground, the fire lane in the back, this is the best spot for these chargers.
Could you underground this?
We-
The transformer?
That comes from Pico, so I don't think we don't really have a choice. It's going to be a pad-mounted transformer. And the switchgear, I've personally never seen an underground one. We could look into that certainly, but I haven't seen one because you need access to it. There's breakers in there, your main shutoff's in there, so putting it underground would pose a hazard if anything ever happened.
Down that way.
What's that?
We have them in Wayne.
Okay, it's something we could look into. I could certainly talk to Pico, because they're the ones that are driving the design for the getting power there. So they're the ones that are proposing the pad mount transformer. But I could certainly have that conversation with them.
So I know we haven't identified any exhibits yet, and I guess we'll have to get to the formality of that. But the plan that you have open on the table, on that top page, can you show me where the existing building is in relation to these parking spaces?
Yeah, here's the existing building, and the main entrance is Plan East.
It's right in front.
Is it marked? Why don't I see it?
No.
No, the drawings are inadequate.
Yeah, this is what,
I have another question. I'm
Yeah.
just going to move on because
No,
I have
go.
a feeling you're going to need a continuance. But again, we can't give you advice.
You're
Are
right.
you going to be able to address the volume of vehicles and how the loss of 7 parking spaces is going to impact the project and the use of the Wawa?
well, I don't know where we could put more spots because of that fire lane behind the door. There's
I
no,
understand you're capped out.
Yes.
That doesn't mean this project just gets granted. And I think a relevant question, I certainly am going to want to know the answer to.
Yeah.
Is the loss of 7 spaces.
What's
at
the
that
impact?
Wawa, what is the impact going to be?
okay.
As it is now, you go in there at 12:30, there's nowhere to park. You sometimes have to sit and wait so that you can go in.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
If
So
you're not
if
gonna
you're
enf-
not prepared to address that, we
Yeah.
can certainly proceed.
no,
That's up to you.
At this, I would definitely like to request a continuance because, like I said, the gentleman just left the company. I had to pick this up, and
There's a lot of, without giving you any advice, there's issues with the material and the presentation and what you need to do and what you need to prove to show that you're entitled to a variance. Okay? And as I
Understood.
said, we can't give you any advice, but I guess if you would like to seek a variance, no, I'm sorry, a continuance, you'd probably have to be some cost involved in that, and it maybe has to be republished. I'm really not sure, but we've certainly granted continuances to other applicants who have had issues with their presentation, not through their own fault, but they just had issues, so they came back. So normally, I would look over to where Kevin would be sitting and ask just what's on the agenda and get some information to see when, so your folks know when they have to come back here and who they should be bringing with them, maybe.
Yeah, Lisa, do you have any idea how many are on for next month? Okay, so sir, if you're requesting continuance, that'll also waive all the requirements on the board for providing a decision. Do you understand that as well?
Yeah, I
There's
do.
deadlines for that as well, but you'll be extending those with your continuance. And it sounds like we can't guarantee you'll be on for next month. You may be, but if next month's
Understood.
agenda is too long already, you'll be pushed off for 60 days. Is that
Understood.
Understood?
I apologize for the presentation. Like, you know,
There's no need.
No need. The only other thing I would ask as well, since you're the new person as the contact, because
Yes.
my contact was Philip Johnson.
Yes.
That looks like you have my letter in front of you.
I got
You
it
could-
this
Yeah, if you could
morning.
email me in response to that, so I can get in
Okay.
touch with you as well.
For sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Your exhibits need some
Yeah, you can, I
improvement.
printed it this morning.
Your exhibits need a lot of improvement.
Okay.
I couldn't tell reviewing this where you were putting the transformer, where the
There's a,
chargers are.
there's a reason the gentleman is no longer with the company. We will get you better exhibits and we'll be better prepared next time.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much. Okay, where does, let me just get this down. Okay. Okay, this belongs over here. Okay. Just make a note here, hang on.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
I'm sorry, if I could just announce that the other application that's being continued, just in case there's people here from the public that are here for that application, which is further down the agenda, that's Appeal 3256, David and Nadine. Yes, yeah, I'm sorry, Norma, yes, yeah, this should be on the record as well. No, I'm sorry. Are you good to go? So this is regarding Appeal 3256. David and Nadine Haplamazian, property located at 20 Quintero Road. Their attorney has requested a continuance, which has been granted by the board, so it'll be postponed for at least 1 month. Yes, that's the one, yeah,
Yes.
that's the one we listed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, the next appeal is appeal number 3254. 3254. The applicant, 3D Body Works of Spring City LLC, property located at 378, 380, 384 West Lancaster Avenue and zoned C2 Commercial. First, the applicant seeks a variance from Section 28051 to consolidate 378 West Lancaster Avenue, open parens, motor vehicle repair shop, close parens, with 380 West Lancaster Avenue, open parens, retail service shop and residential, close parens, and 384 West Lancaster Avenue, open parens, restaurant and residential, close parens, and use a consolidated lot for motor vehicle repair shop and/or, in the alternative, a special exception under Section 280-101A, number 1 in parens, to change a non-conforming use, open parens, retail service shop and non-conforming residential and restaurant and non-conforming residential to another non-conforming use, open parens, motor vehicle repair shop. Second, a variance from 280-101A2 to extend and enlarge the non-conforming motor vehicle repair shop use and building to more than 50% of the area devoted to non-conforming use, and for the extension of the building to maintain the existing area and setback regulations and to permit more than one extension to a non-conforming building, open paren, special exception, granted to appeal number 1879 in 1987, to construct an extension of the existing building in which legal non-conforming auto repair shop was maintained. 3, variance from 280-103B, 20 in parens, to provide less parking spaces than required for the proposed development. The existing parking nonconformities will be decreased with the proposed development. 4, variance from 112D to permit parking within areas of steep slopes due to existing grade. 5, special exception to have parking within the required front yard setback and or the alternative variance from 280-105F to have off-street parking areas less than 20 feet from the street right-of-way. Currently exists. These existing nonconformities will be improved, and the proposed lot consolidation and development. 6, any and all other relief necessary for the proposed consolidation, use, and development of the properties. And the applicant is here?
Yes, Jamie John here on behalf of the applicant. I am the attorney.
Okay, you might do better with the microphone, but go ahead.
J-U-N. And is there another handheld so that we can do the testimony, or should I just speak into this one?
Yeah.
Before I begin, I'll just hand out the exhibit packets, kind
Sure.
of go through them quickly so you know what's there, and then I'll call my witnesses.
Yeah, we need,
Different than what's in the original packet? We need a second one then.
yeah, we need a second one for the file. Here you go. Here, put this one in there. Oh, okay. Thank you.
I do not. I have a total of 12 exhibits tonight, and again, I will go through them briefly. I have 3 witnesses. I know that the list of relief that's just been read seems to be a lot, but for the most part, what we're seeking is to modernize and expand the existing motor vehicle repair shop. Most of the other parking dimensional type of variances that we're seeking, they are existing conditions, and we're, for the most part, decreasing the existing nonconformities, but if and to the extent required, we're seeking the variances. Exhibit A1 is an aerial of the site. Our property, the 3 separate properties, are located on the northern side of Lancaster Avenue. The existing auto repair shop is shown as 3D Auto Body. There's a retail building in the middle, and to the right of that is the former restaurant building. The retail building and the restaurant building, they've been vacant for about the last 10 years. The auto repair, as our client has owned it, has been there since 2011, I believe. But as previously mentioned, it was used as a motor vehicle repair shop. Prior to that, they had received a variance, what was that, in the 80s, to do a small expansion. But again, what we're looking to do is to basically do a facade upgrade to the existing motor vehicle repair shop, to demolish the middle retail building, and then to renovate that old restaurant building to locate some of the motor vehicle repair services in there. Exhibit A2 shows the existing conditions. Exhibit A3 is a concept plan that shows the proposed development. Exhibit A4 is the proposed elevations that shows what the new buildings will look like, as well as there's a little bit of a dashed overlay as to how it compares to the existing building in terms of height. Exhibit A5 is the proposed floor plan. Exhibit A6 shows the proposed rendering as compared to the existing conditions today. Exhibit A8 are photos that were included with the zoning application package. Exhibit A9 is a transportation impact assessment, and this has been done in anticipation of us submitting a land development application for the project. Exhibit A10, 11, and 12 are the CVs for our experts. So you can reference that if you need.
Going back to A1, I see you've got the 3D auto body shop identified, there's a small store, or what was, I guess, once upon a time, a store next to it, and then there's the old restaurant. And then next to that, there looks like is that another older building that's right attached to the restaurant, what had been the restaurant?
There is another building, but that is not on our site.
Okay.
So immediately to the right of the restaurant as you look at A1. That's
Okay.
a separate property.
Okay. And currently, are the three, I'll call them three buildings, are they under common ownership at this point, or are they still three separate deeded?
They are under common ownership.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
And prior to us, I guess, finalizing the plans for this development, we did submit an informal sketch plan to the township. We did want a township engineer and the township traffic engineer review so that whatever plan we presented to you, we had some sort of, I guess, confirmation that it wasn't going to have any major issues as we go through the land development process. This is going to be covered a little bit more by our experts. We did also present to the Planning Commission. They reviewed this because, again, this is a zoning application that will be going through land development, and we had received recommended approval. They just had a little bit of a concern regarding the buffer in the back, and our engineer will cover what we have done to address that concern. So if the board does not have any more questions, I'll just move along with our first witness, which is our project civil engineer.
I do. Will Jaeger, Jager.
Can you also state your address for the board?
1600 Manor Drive, Chalfont, PA. I'm with Bowler Engineering. We are the civil of record.
You're the what of record?
Civil engineer of record.
And your CV has been submitted as Exhibit A10.
10.
Can you just briefly describe your educational background and professional experience?
Yes, so I hold a bachelor's degree in civil engineering technology from Pennsylvania College of Technology. I worked for roughly a year and a half or so in geotechnical consulting before starting with Bowler. I've been there about 7 years now doing land development, design, permitting, and I'm now a project manager with Bowler.
And what plans have Bowler prepared in connection with this application?
Yes, so the existing conditions plan, which is the first plan that I have up on the screen here, and then second plan that we'll get to.
Okay, you're going to offer him as an expert?
Yes,
Okay,
I would like
without
to offer.
exception.
Sorry. So existing conditions plan is the first plan prepared. This shows the 3 parcels, all the existing conditions, the existing zoning calculations for the property. The second plan, which we'll get to in a little bit, is the proposed site plan, which shows the consolidation of the 3 lots, the removal of the building in the middle, and then the reconfiguration of the site, which is proposed along with this application.
And you're familiar with the properties and the general operations of the existing business, correct?
Yes.
Can you now identify and describe the existing conditions?
Sure. So I will start from my left go to the right. So the property on the left, this is the 384 property. It's the vacant restaurant building. All three of these properties have a series of nonconformities, so I'll just go through the nonconformities for each property one at a time. So 384 is nonconforming for lot area, lot width, building area, side yard, rear yard, lot coverage, and the rear planting buffer. In addition, parking in the front yard, loading area, parking space dimensions, and number of parking spaces. So those are the current deficiencies for the 384 lot. The 380 lot, which is in the center of the site, is the vacant retail building. This has a few less nonconformities, but nonetheless is nonconforming for lot area, lot width, side yard, lot coverage, rear planting buffer, parking in the front yard, loading area, and parking space dimensions. And similarly, 378, which is the existing building that 3D Bodyworks operates currently, is nonconforming for lot area, lot width, building area, side yard, rear yard, lot coverage, rear planting buffer, parking in the front yard, loading area, parking space dimensions, and parking count.
Can you now describe the proposed conditions, including the consolidated lot and the proposed improvements, as well as the elimination or reduction in any nonconformities?
Absolutely. So, as Jamie had mentioned previously,
Excuse me I just want to
yes.
keep the record clean. The exhibit that you were just referring to previously, that was A2?
That's correct.
Yes.
And
Okay.
this
And
is
then
the
if you
list.
could identify what we're looking at now, just keep the record clean, please.
yes.
And now Will is referring to Exhibit A3, which is the concept plan.
Right. So Exhibit A3, concept plan, this shows the consolidation of the three lots, the removal of the building in the middle, which is the existing retail, and then the reconfiguration of the parking spaces. As part of this site currently has basically a completely open frontage along Lancaster where there is no defined driveway. So we had a pre-application meeting, a scoping meeting with PennDOT, also based on some feedback we received from the Township traffic engineer about how to try and improve the frontage on Lancaster, acknowledging that there are limitations in the width and right-of-way available along Lancaster here. It is not specific to this site. It is shared amongst really this stretch of Lancaster. So as part of this project, we are also proposing to get rid of that wide open frontage and consolidate it into two defined access points. The main ingress-egress access point is in the center of the property, which would have been essentially where the old retail building is now. And then there's also an egress only to the left side of the property, ingress only to the left side of the property, where customers, when they've scheduled an appointment to have their car repaired, would pull in, drop their vehicle off at that office space, and then whatever arrangements they've made to be taken home or have a rental car, those accommodations would be made. The client would leave the site, and then the staff would then take the car and park it wherever it needs to be based on the work that's being completed. So our traffic engineer will get into a little bit more of the traffic-related items as we go on here, but just wanted to give an overview of that up front just for some background on the access. So with that, I'll go through sort of the reduction in the nonconformities for the site, or elimination. So the use nonconformity is reduced from 2 to 1. There is the auto repair use is nonconforming, but there is also a residential component as an apartment in, I believe it's the 380 property, which would be removed as part of this application. So the residential non-conforming use is removed as well. The lot size and lot width nonconformities are eliminated by the consolidation. Building area, same thing, is eliminated by the consolidation. The impervious surface nonconformity is reduced from, if you considered all three of the existing lots as one, the impervious coverage is like 96.7%. So the consolidation and improvements here reduce that nonconformity down to 88%. The rear buffer nonconformity is reduced. This is something we talked about with the Planning Commission. As it exists today, the parking in the back of the site, I'll just flip to Exhibit A2 for a second. Got both my boards. The parking in the back of the site kind of ducks and weaves here, but it crosses onto the residential properties in the back. So the parking overlaps. There is really no buffer yard to speak of back there. There is a 15-foot buffer requirement, which is non-conforming in this condition. And what we've proposed to do is, based on feedback from the Planning Commission, provide this. There's going to be a 7-foot buffer that gets provided along the back here. There is a pinch point where the property takes a bend here, which maintains about a 1-foot buffer from the property line, which is less non-conforming than the current situation where it is like 6 or 7 feet across the property line. The parking in the front yard nonconformity is reduced in both the number of spaces and the proximity to the right-of-way. As it exists today, essentially, people can just back straight out onto Lancaster Ave there. There are parking spaces that are right along the right-of-way. So as part of consolidating the open frontage into driveways, it reduces the number of spaces and the distance. The loading area nonconformity is eliminated. There is a dedicated loading zone that's provided. The parking space dimension nonconformities are reduced. Some of the existing parking spaces on that property are currently like 7 by 14 feet for some of them. And the number of parking space nonconformity is reduced as well. But pause for questions.
Yeah, so I appreciate understanding what the improvements will, the reduction in the nonconformities. But what I'm really going to want to need at some point is a comprehensive list of all the relief that you need in order to make this project work. That's not to say you'll get it, but I need to understand what we're doing here as a board.
Right, and the list was it was what was reviewed at the beginning.
Well, I didn't hear, for instance, Mr. Yeager mentioned impervious coverage currently is 96 and some odd %, and it's reduced to 88%. Do you need relief for that impervious coverage?
We have spoken with the zoning officer prior to filing this application because, again, we wanted to make sure that we were incorporating everything. I think there were some determinations that had been made that stated that if we're decreasing the nonconformity, that we do not need to specifically seek relief. But there are things where, in terms of the parking, again, in the front yard, I felt that also is not necessary, but just to be on the safe side, we have asked for it if and to the extent required. So in terms of the impervious, no, we have not specifically asked, but I guess for what it's worth, we do have that catch-all where it says any and all other relief necessary. But no, we have not specifically asked for the impervious because, again, it's a non-conforming situation that we're actually making better. And so our relief is, again, based on the conversations that we had with the zoning officers as to what he determined would be necessary to allow for the development. And for example, even the parking, the number of parking spaces in terms of the nonconformity is being reduced from like 65 to 4. We're not providing 4 spaces that we need to provide, whereas obviously with the restaurant use there, the parking requirement is a lot greater. One of the reasons that we have specified that relief is because we are changing the use technically. So in that sense, we have specified it. So I do believe the list that was provided at the beginning is a comprehensive list. But again, a lot of that is a if and to the extent necessary, because again, it's existing conditions that we're mainly continuing and or improving.
So let me ask council then. I see your wheels turning. The reduction in the nonconformities. I don't quite follow how that
Needs relief.
impacts us. Or does it need relief? Does it not? Is it in front of us?
Well, especially with an impervious coverage rate, if you're changing where the impervious is, there's a lot, there's a lot changing here. So I could see that's why the zoning officer required them to file this application. I think the safest thing to do is to grant it all as relief being granted. None of this is a special exception. Are any of your requests special exceptions?
I think there were.
At least one, I think.
Yeah, at
but-
least one. Right?
And
But not
again,
this.
and that too is a if and to the extent required, right? Because
Right.
you have a special exception to have parking in the front yard.
Right.
We already have parking in the front yard. We're reducing the number of spaces. We're also reducing how close it is to the right-of-way. So I would say technically we don't need it, but I'm asking for it. So yeah, that's the special
Right,
exception.
and that's, if she's, and I think that's the
Number-
safest.
Item number 5 on the second page of the agenda for this evening says, special exception to have parking within the required front yard setback and/or in the alternative variance from 280-105F to have off-street parking areas less than 20 feet from the street right-of-way. Is that the current condition of the property?
Yes, it is the current condition. But again, I was trying to make it as comprehensive as possible.
Which I think is the safest thing to do. And I think granting it that way is the safest thing for the decision to stand, so there's no issues.
So you're not familiar. Typically, when we're presented with an application that has a lot of components to it, we tend to break them into subparts.
Yeah.
I know we're not ready for debate or anything, but I'm always hesitant to just grant blanket relief because the print's small in these plans. We're just
Yeah.
so and the motion would be carried based on the evidence and exhibits presented at the hearing.
Right. I mean, again, we try to make it as comprehensive as possible. On the other hand, one of the reasons for speaking with the zoning officer previously was we didn't want to come to you with 20 variances and, because we wanted you to have a full understanding of what is really happening at the site and I guess all of the improvements that we're making with the development. So it was sort of juggling those two, but we can kind of go through, I suppose, all of the nonconformities that will remain with the proposed development. And that can certainly be clarified, and then the board can certainly go through each item and make a motion on that if that's what you desire.
So I guess right. Do we need relief for the existing nonconformities because of the change in use?
Her position legally is that she doesn't need it, but that she's asking for it just to cover her base, right.
I didn't mean to get ahead of your case.
No, but I appreciate the discussion.
Isn't a reduction in nonconformity technically covered by the prior relief?
It is, but there's also an argument that because you're changing where all the different relief is, in other words, just like you grant decisions and you restrict it to the plans and exhibits presented to you, this is a big change from what was there existing as a nonconformity. So that's typically why Mr. Kachansky and the zoning officer in the township, when they're presented with these types of quote, improvements in the condition by reducing the nonconformity, it still needs to be approved by this board. The zoning officer can't do it himself, and that's why he sends them here. This application just has, obviously, it's pretty complex and has quite a bit going on.
And I do want to add, though, usually, I guess that would be more applicable. I mean, generally, you have a right to maintain existing nonconformities, and I understand a little bit more, let's say if a site had like 70% impervious and we were moving it all around, but we said we want to maintain that 70%. I mean, here, we're almost all impervious. Whatever we're gaining in terms of green area is areas that we're taking up to better the condition. So that's why I think that this is a little bit different, even with the change in use. But typically, when you use and dimension and impervious, that's a little bit different because we can have a non-conforming auto repair shop there. If a new use came in, we don't have to go back to conforming impervious because you're permitted to maintain the existing improvements. So that's where we're coming from, where, again, we are doing a lot here, but I think because so much of it is paved, so much of it is building, what we're doing is removing building, we're removing paving, we're putting in landscaping. So I think it's a little different, even though there is a change of use.
I guess what I'll say is when you get to the end, I'll make sure somebody on whoever's going to make the motions tonight, will make sure that we are covering our bases. Yeah, I don't want to. I do have a couple of questions for Mr. Yeager. You mentioned rental cars. Is there any proposal to have rental cars on site that customers can rent and then drive away with?
No, they would not be housed on site, but arrangements would be made ahead of the drop-off time if a rental car was desired.
Okay, no problem. And then talking about impervious, is there any stormwater management systems in the context of these plans?
So, not currently shown, there's not a stormwater management system shown on this plan, but we would be obligated to comply with all the requirements of the Township Stormwater Ordinance. So in the case that we don't make a 20% reduction in impervious, say, there's going to be some minimal amount of rate and volume control that would be required. Yes, that would be, and that would be part of the land development process.
The old restaurant that's been sitting there derelict for so long, is that being taken down?
That building will be renovated. So we do
Okay.
have the architect who will kind of run through
Okay,
what the
all right.
renovations will be. And I do just want to give you a little bit of a background as to the existing business that's there and then what will become of that business with this development if it's approved. So the current hours of operation are from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Most of their customers come on a scheduled basis. So you have one car come in, they get their, the car evaluated. It works through the insurance company. If they are going to drop off the car, they do have a rental car that's provided by another provider that will be waiting at the site for them to take off site. Currently, there are 9 employees. There are 6 in the shop, 3 in the office. We don't envision that this development will immediately lead to an increase in the number of employees because, quite frankly, the existing building is cramped. So they're just looking for bigger office space. They want more dedicated space for detailing and for the paint and things of that sort. So they, look at maybe going to 14, but the number of cars that they're working on and things like that is not going to drastically increase because of this development. It's more of a modernization, allowing them to have dedicated facilities and I guess more upgraded facilities for the work that they're doing there. So I wanted to give that a little bit of a background too, so that you understand what this development is really going to result in terms of impact and traffic, and obviously we have a traffic engineer that's going to go into that a little bit as well. Are there any other questions for Will at this point, or should I go on?
Did you say that you needed permits from PennDOT for something? I might have missed that at the very beginning.
So any work that's done along Lancaster Avenue will have to be, will have to go through PennDOT. We've had the scoping meeting, and again, that'll be covered by our traffic engineer as well.
All right, good, thanks. Thank you. Any other questions on this point? Okay. Why don't you proceed with your presentation, please?
Thank you. So you have heard me say we have had township engineer review of the informal sketch plan, and the current plan incorporates that review as well as planning commission review. Is that correct?
Correct.
And now I'm just going to go through the legal justifications for the granting of the variance and the special exception, and what are the reasons for the requested variances?
So this was sort of covered loosely, but just to recap, the requested variances are essentially necessary to facilitate the revitalization of the existing motor vehicle repair shop. The nonconformities largely reflect the existing site conditions, and the variances requested are essentially, if and to the extent necessary, they're required for the proposed improvements. But overall, the proposal for the site reduces the existing nonconformities or removes a select few of them, but they can't be completely eliminated just due to the nature of the property itself and the constraints that we're dealing with, keeping two of the existing buildings, et cetera.
And are the variances requested consistent with the township comprehensive plan and promote the harmonious and orderly development of the zoning district involved?
Yes, and the architect will share in a minute some of the renderings for the site, but essentially the proposed development will enhance the streetscape that's there today along Route 30 and allow a successful business operation to expand and improve on its facility.
Is the proposed change consistent with the character and zoning of the surrounding area, and will it avoid substantially injuring nearby properties or the neighborhood, considering existing property impacts, the prevalence of nonconforming uses, and the presence of similar conditions or uses in the area?
Yes, so prior to meeting with Planning Commission, the client had opened up to the public a meeting at the facility kind of to invite the neighbors in, share the plans for the property, hear any concerns. There were maybe 6 residents that had attended. The feedback was generally positive from them, looking to have some of this site cleaned up and the building beautified a little bit. There were some relatively minor comments from the residents, but generally positive feedback that this project would take place.
And is the proposed change reasonable in terms of the logical, efficient, and economic extension of public services and facilities? Okay. Is the proposed change reasonable in terms of the logical, efficient, and economic extension of public services and facilities, and assures adequate arrangements for sanitation in specific instances?
Yes.
Will all commercial parking, loading, access, or service areas be adequately illuminated at night while in use and arranged so as to comply with the applicable requirements of Code Section 280-105?
Yes.
In your opinion, if this application is approved, will there be any adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare?
No.
And those are all of my questions for Will.
Excuse me, I do have, if you, just given what was mentioned, Will, you said that there was a public comment process, a public presentation. You said there were some dissenting comments from the public. What were those comments?
Yeah, so one comment in specific, and I could not tell you who the property owner is.
That's okay, just adjoining.
There is an urgent care or a doctor's office that's right next door here, and they specifically have, the comment probably wasn't actually directed at us, but it was more so directed at that facility. There is an emergency light that is on the back corner of that building that shines like directly at their residential property, and their comment was essentially, could you make sure that there's no spotlight pointed at our house here? Because the doctor's office next door, urgent care, has one, and we've asked them to do something about it, and they haven't. That was essentially the conversation. As Jamie mentioned earlier, the hours of operation for this facility are 8 to 5:30 or so. So there's no expectation of having lights on in parking areas that are at sleeping hours.
Right. Were there any other dissenting comments that stood out?
No, and actually one of the members from the design review board was there as well, and was pretty supportive of seeing something happen here.
So regarding, since you do have parking here regarding those lights, I know, like, is there going to be any screening with those rear parking spots giving your adjoining southerly neighbors?
Yes, so that was a comment that the Planning Commission brought up. They separately actually gave us a recommendation for a certain species of giant arborvitae, but the intent really with that space would be to put some sort of fence first along the curb line and then buffer it with whatever material, basically it's going to be arborvitae or a plant of some similar species.
Okay. And then regarding this, like with the existing conditions to what's proposed here, are you going to be removing existing paving, grinding? Is it basically a full redevelopment that we're seeing? Because I know you're demolishing one building, renovating two. I know there's an architect here to speak on that as well, but renovation of two additional buildings, two existing?
That's correct. It's renovation of two existing buildings.
Two existing, okay. Demolishing one and then a full resurfacing as well?
Yeah, as part of land development and like as we get a little farther with geotechnical engineering, if they do, I'll speak a little slower, sorry. If they do borings on the site and they determine that the pavement section is inadequate or it's deteriorated to a point where it needs full depth replacement, we would do that. The intent is really to maintain as much of this as we can, if we can. But in a project like this, if it's a little bit of extra pavement replacement because the subgrade is deteriorated, then it's something we would entertain doing. But I mean, to answer your question, it's salvaging as much as we can within reason on the site.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Was there any questions during the Planning Commission phase of this by residents or by members of the Planning Commission regarding off-time delivery? I know vehicles can be brought in on flatbeds or towed in almost any time of the day or night and left there for you guys to deal with the next morning when you come to work. But essentially, the place could be accessed 24 hours a day with damaged cars, right?
That did not come up with the neighbors meeting or at the Planning Commission. Jamie, I don't know if that's something you want to speak to or have the owner.
Yeah, I mean, just generally, and certainly we can have the owner answer if there are more specific questions, but the anticipated number of deliveries would be like anywhere from 3 to 4 a day, and they typically will just come in box vans, so we don't have large trucks coming. And now we do have a loading area that will be provided, whereas before the site didn't have a loading area, so any deliveries or whatnot would have an improved space to access.
Okay.
Thank you, Will. I will call our project architect.
That has to stay there. They both have to stay there.
That works.
Okay, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, and state your name and spell.
Carl, C-A-R-L, last name Guttilla, G-U-T-T-I-L-L-A.
And could you please state your address for the board?
Sure. Company address is 189 West Lancaster Avenue, Paoli, PA.
And your CV has been submitted as Exhibit A11, I believe. Can you briefly describe for the board your educational background and professional experience?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Architecture from Pratt Institute School of Architecture, 1978. Licensed in Pennsylvania as well as 8 other states.
And you've provided testimony before boards such as this with projects that you've been involved in, is that correct?
Yes, this board.
Okay. I would like to submit him as an expert. on architecture. Sorry. And you are familiar with the subject properties, correct?
Yes, I am.
And can you explain to the board what you've been engaged to do?
Well, we were hired to do the architectural design for the overall project, enhance the appearance of the structures that are there. The existing shop will remain as is, except it will be reclad on the exterior, given a new modernized look. As they stated previously, the building in the middle will be demolished. The restaurant will be demolished, but the foundation and lower level will remain as is and be reinforced to support the new structure above on the same footprint, more or less.
And can you review with the board the exhibits that you have prepared in connection with this project? And I'm going to give you the exhibit list. So when you are reviewing a particular exhibit, if you can just reference the number so that they know which plan you're referring to.
Let's see. Okay. So the, I guess the proposed floor plan, oh, the elevations. Okay, so this is an elevation drawing. This is exhibit A4. So this is a view looking at the building as it stretches out the entire site across Lancaster Avenue. The building on the left is the shop building, which gets reclad, and I'll go through the renderings later. Basically, you can sort of faintly see the dotted outline of the building that's there with the little mansard roof on it. So we're about the same height as what was there, a little bit higher at the tower. I think the tower goes to, I think it says 30 feet. Building in the middle, of course, is removed, and that becomes a landscape area and access in and out of the site as it steps down. On the right-hand side here, so this is the proposal for the new building that will be where the restaurant currently is. And that building will be also looking very similar to the cladding on the shop building. So this is the floor plan exhibit, exhibit A5. So this building on this side, this is the existing shop building, and there's a small office here. You park up front, bring the vehicles inside, work on them, take them out. There's a lower level, which is accessed from down below the site through an overhead door, and exactly the same footprint as this building above. That will all remain as is. We really haven't done much with the interior at this point. We've just been focusing on the exterior of the building. This building is the lower level of the restaurant. We are keeping that as is. I'm sorry, over here. We are going to remove this corner on the lower level and the upper level to provide more room and parking and ingress egress up above. We'll reinforce these walls, modernize it. The lower level will become a shop and a paint shop. The upper level, you got about 1,100 square feet, which becomes an office space. Stair going down, egress out the front, and also vehicle storage for 5 or 6 cars. So this, let's see, is this the before and after? Okay, so this is exhibit A6. So obviously this is the front view of what's existing. So this is the shop building over here. This is the retail building. I guess it was an apartment above being demolished. That becomes a new ingress, egress into the back of the site. This entire portion of the restaurant building will be removed along with these planters. It's in terrible condition right now. And so this building ends up looking like this. It'll be clad with an aluminum composite material, glass curtain wall. There's a glass overhead door to bring the vehicles in, entrance into the office area for the public, short-term parking, handicap parking. This is the area that did contain the house, gone, becomes a ramp and landscape area. This is the shop building, which currently is this sort of tired-looking brick building with this blue mansard front. Once again, gets clad with Alucobond panels in a couple of different colors. This is sort of a wood-looking material. Get a little bit more planting, some railings, new windows to modernize it, and that's about it for that one. Let's see, what do we have next, Jamie? A7. You know what? I think this was A7. The
There was
Is that A7? Okay, so this is Exhibit A7, which is a blow-up of the shop building. So that's where the old mansard roof was. This was the kind of tired brick siding. And these is the new building cladding, tower element, signage, synthetic wood entrance, new glass door to enter the garage, new storefront for the entry into the office area. This space we picked up in here will become a landscape area with a railing looking down below.
And I believe that view, too, is the same as what was on top of the proposed rendering and existing conditions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
There's
just
no
a
question regarding the signage. You don't need any relief on the signage that's been discussed?
We are not at this time. Just, it's sort of a struggle as to how much you fully design and all the approvals you get. So if there is any relief that is required for the signage that's being proposed, we'll have to come back.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Just to touch on that briefly, we've lowered these signs. This one has been lowered to this element here. This one is already, so these signs don't go above 15 feet.
What exhibit is that drawing?
This was the...
Not the photograph, the
That is the A4. So
Yeah.
Carl is referencing A4.
So that's showing the signage, you know, with exception of this, the logos, which obviously are higher than 15 feet. But we're not here for signage, correct?
No.
Okay. Because it just happens, it just looks good on here. So this view, once again, is an overall view of the site, capturing the two buildings, the building that's been demolished in the middle, the additional landscape enhancements, and overall upgrading of both buildings with new materials.
And in your opinion, if this application is approved, do you think there's any adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare?
No, I do not.
That's all of my questions for Carl, if the board has any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question. Went right out of my head. Oh, the expansion of the building, which is part of the application. Can you speak to that at all?
The expansion? Well, first of all,
The relief requested is for more than 50%. And I don't know if you have other witnesses, but I'm assuming that's the architect's purview.
The one witness I have left is the traffic engineer, so he's the right one to ask.
so in terms of expansion, the shop building on the left will remain exactly the same size as it is. This guy gets eliminated completely in the middle. This building, actually square footage-wise, will become smaller by probably, let's say, roughly 400 square feet per floor, because we're carving out this notch in the corner. So we're not actually,
Let me clarify my question. So the code allows for a special exception, I think I'm right, to allow an expansion of a non-conforming use by no more than 50%. So are you expanding the non-conformity of the renovated restaurant building by greater than 50%?
So the way I read it is that that is more than 50% than the existing motor vehicle repair shop, right? And that's why we've sought the relief, because I believe it's more than 50% of the existing motor vehicle repair shop. But again, the reason that it exceeds the 50% mainly is because, one, we're using and renovating an existing building. There's a valuable building there, and although we are reducing the footprint a little bit, we are, for the most part, trying to reuse that existing restaurant that has been defunct for a long time. Also, again, as I've mentioned, the existing motor vehicle repair shop, it's just cramped, and I think that the technology for repair of vehicles, the paint shops, the technology over the years, it's modernized. So that's sort of, we now need updated facilities, and this renovated restaurant building would allow us to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's my question. One of the pieces of relief in your application is a variance from 280-101A2 to extend and enlarge the non-conforming motor vehicle repair shop building to more than 50% devoted to the language is clunky, but my takeaway from that is that you're expanding the non-conforming building by greater than 50%.
And we're not
Which
doing
building
that.
is that?
We're not doing that because we're not increasing the existing motor vehicle repair shop. So that was another sort of,
You increasing the restaurant building?
we are increasing it in terms of adding a second floor. So we are increasing the restaurant building, but
By more than 50%?
Well, we're not increasing the area of the building. That floor exists right now as a restaurant. We're actually reducing the size of that building by 300 to 400 square feet.
So
well, let me ask the question then, Carl. In terms of total square footage within the building, what is it currently and what is it going to?
Well, let's see. I don't have an exact number because I have a number of what's left of the lower level once we take the corner piece out, which is, like I say, 200 to 300 square feet. This piece right here. That building, what remains is 4,382 square feet. So I would say that the existing building is no bigger than add 300 to that.
So about
So
4,500.
4,600, maybe 4,700 jobs. And
The area, so council, the amount of area that's going to be used for the auto body shop is what's increasing, not the buildings.
not the building, but that use
Right. So the
But that-
use is what you understand.
is
Does
currently
that
used
answer the
as.
question?
Not really, because the code speaks to the non-conforming use of a building. So we've got a non-conforming restaurant use. I mean, we debated this with the Welcome Center, whether you could, this was Nick's argument, whether or not you could change the use and expand by the 50% marker.
And
And I think that's what's being proposed here.
just going back to that, the restaurant use is not a non-conforming use. We have been told that there were some residential use of it at some point. I don't know where legal or not, but the restaurant use itself is a conforming permitted use in the C2 district. I guess there's a little bit of a question as to, is it a use variance if you technically don't have enough parking for it, right? Because I've told you they have a parking nonconformity of 60-some parking spaces. So the use variance that we're seeking is a general use variance onto that site, onto this consolidated, expanded site. So so I don't think that the
not understanding.
50% calculation actually kicks in for the restaurant
But
building.
your application speaks to changing from one non-conforming use, restaurant and residential, to the consolidated lot for motor vehicle repair. I mean, I'm getting this information from the application.
Yes, yes.
But now you're saying something different. By the way, I have a different question, because now they're looking for a consolidated lot that will essentially have two buildings on it. Is that permitted?
But it is, and it's it would be an accessory building. It's not two principal buildings because they're used for one business. So it would be like a residential lot having a house and accessory structure. So that's how we're viewing that.
So the variance that you're looking for then is, and I think council stated it the way I'm understanding it now, or maybe you said it, I'm sorry, but it's the use vis-à-vis the two buildings that's going to expand by more than 50%? In other words, you've got an existing building, let's call it 100 square feet, and then you've got your restaurant building that you're converting into now motor vehicle repair shop that's 200 square feet.
Right, and again, this provision, that the site to the non-conforming use provision was another if and to the extent required because we didn't know how it was going to be interpreted. So, yeah, but basically what it is that it's a use variance to consolidate 3 lots, 2 of which have non-conforming uses, into one, and now you will have 1 non-conforming use.
Any more questions for this witness? No? Okay. All right, next witness, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And, our last witness is our traffic engineer.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name for the record, please.
Sure. Matthew Hammond, Hammond.
And can you please state your address and your occupation and position with TPD?
Sure. Address is 1025 Andrew Drive, Suite 110, Westchester, Pennsylvania. And I am the Executive Vice President of Traffic Planning and Design, which is a consulting engineering firm.
Your CV has been submitted as Exhibit A12. Can you please briefly describe your educational backgrounds and professional experience?
Sure. I received my bachelor's in civil engineering from Drexel University and have been practicing as an engineer for nearly 31 years at this point. I am licensed in 12 states as a professional engineer, as well as the District of Columbia.
I would ask that he be accepted as an expert in traffic engineering.
Without exception.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with the subject properties?
I am.
And did you prepare a traffic impact study in connection with the current application?
I did.
And what traffic reviews have you received for the proposed concept plan?
So the first step in any application when it involves PennDOT is submit a scoping application, which is essentially an application that introduces a project and outlines the parameters associated with a future traffic study. As mentioned, the property accesses currently Lancaster Avenue, will continue to access Lancaster Avenue, which is a state-owned and maintained roadway. So a scoping application was submitted to the Department of Transportation as well as Radnor Township in May of 2025. We received a review letter from PennDOT in June of 2025. And based on those comments, we had requested what's called a collaboration meeting. Essentially what that is a meeting that's set up between the department and the stakeholders, including the township, to discuss the comments and talk about any refinements that could be made to the plan, any issues that may have cropped up, and things of that nature. So that meeting occurred in August of 2025. And during that meeting, there were a number of different items discussed. Without speaking for PennDOT, but I will anyway, one of the improvements that we're proposing, which PennDOT is looking favorably upon, is actually the consolidation of access along the frontage. As Mr. Yeager had mentioned, right now the site frontage is wide open. It's a kind of a free-for-all, anyone that's accessing the property. There's about 207 or 208 feet of open frontage on Lancaster Avenue. And again, as Mr. Yeager mentioned, is shown on A3, we are proposing 2 defined access points, which will provide curbing along the frontage and will allow for 1 full movement driveway and 1 enter-only driveway. Based on those discussions, there were also some other refinements that were made, which included taking sidewalk and moving it off of the roadway to provide a verge between Lancaster Avenue and the sidewalk, so there would be a continued sidewalk along the frontage, as I'm showing on Exhibit A3. And then there was also discussion about the design of the driveways themselves, and what we've shown here is what we call a driveway apron. So that was essentially the outcome of that conversation between the township and PennDOT representatives. We then received a review letter from the township traffic engineer dated October 27th, 2025, which outlined essentially some of the internal aspects of the plan that would be more dealt with during land development. And then based on that, all of that input and further refinements to the plan, we prepared a traffic impact study.
And can you describe the scope of the study and your conclusion?
Sure. And again, based on collaboration with the township and PennDOT, we prepared a traffic impact study that essentially mostly focused on the existing properties as well as the adjacent intersection of Conestoga Road and Lancaster Avenue. We conducted peak hour counts at the existing property as well as the adjacent intersection. We prepared analysis to determine how the intersections operate, and again, mostly focusing on the frontage itself. One of the things that we found is that the existing auto body repair shop does not generate a significant amount of traffic. If you're familiar with traffic studies and how they're prepared, typically we utilize industry standards to calculate or generate traffic for specific uses. When you look at this type of use and based on the size that exists, how much traffic it would generate, the industry publications say it generates about 3 to 6 times more than it actually did. So this site generated about 12 trips in the AM peak hour and about 7 trips in the PM peak hour, so not a significant amount of traffic. However, for purposes of conservative analysis, when we looked at the expansion of the existing non-conforming use, we utilized the industry publications just to kind of show a worst-case scenario, and again, be conservative with respect to the projections and the analysis. Based on the traffic study that has been completed, the amount of traffic associated with the use as well as the improvements to the access are what has been proposed as far as the mitigation is concerned.
In your opinion, is the proposed use suitable with respect to traffic and highways in the area and provide for adequate access and off-street parking arrangements in order to protect major streets and highways from undue congestion and hazard?
Yes, with the caveat that the recommendations contained within the study are implemented.
And will the major street and highway frontage be developed so as to limit the total number of access points and encourage the frontage of buildings on parallel marginal roads or on roads perpendicular to the major street or highway?
Yes, as mentioned, the property currently has open frontage, and as part of this development, we will be providing 2 defined access points to and from the property.
And in your opinion, if this application is approved, will there be any adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare?
In my opinion, no.
And those are all of my questions for Matt.
I have a question. So, just looking at this site design here and knowing just the given use, like, are there what considerations have been provided for emergency vehicle access, especially to the rear of the site? I was looking, just given that it's a confined area.
So, do you have the existing plan? So, again, referring to Exhibit A2, the existing conditions plan, you'll notice there's very similar situation today as it exists on the rear of the property. where it's kind of you come in and it's somewhat of a dead-end area. We are making some enhancements to this area as far as circulation is concerned. One of the things that we'll need to do during the land development as well as PennDOT process is to show that emergency vehicles can access the site, as well as whatever type of delivery trucks, which was mentioned earlier, typically vans, can enter and exit the property. You'll notice that, again, this main access point here has been designed as a driveway apron, and what that means is basically allows us to flare the radii out in these areas to give more room for larger vehicles to enter or exit the property without encroaching in opposing lanes of traffic. But it is something that we'll need to show during land development. We'll need to have it reviewed by the fire marshal.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I'm just thinking, just given when you're proposing to expand the use, because I'm sure with an auto body shop, you're having paints, solvents, other flammable materials that, you know, I'm sure appropriately stored, of course, but just considering my thoughts is like getting fire trucks and other. It is, yes, sorry, I just wasn't close enough, thank you. So I was just thinking in terms of the stated use and materials stored, especially proposed expanded use here, just given access for fire trucks and other emergency services, but understood that would have to also go through, you know, for a further process and revision.
No, yeah, good question. And as I said, if we're able to move forward to the land development process, I'm sure the township's fire marshal will review the plan and make sure that they're comfortable with how it's designed, and if not, we'll have to make revisions.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment? I'm sorry, are you finished? Do you have any more witnesses?
No more witnesses.
Okay. Move your exhibits into evidence, please.
Yes, I asked that my exhibits be moved into evidence.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions for counsel.
Okay.
Yeah, before she ends her case. The parking in the steep slope, are there any, do any of the exhibits show where where those steep slopes are, what that parking looks like? And it's probably a question for your engineer.
No, the exhibits don't explicitly show that, but what exists here is that grade between the front of the building and the back of the building drops a floor. It's the same situation that's there today in between the existing retail building and the restaurant to one side or the auto repair facility to the other side. We have not gone through a detailed grading analysis at this point. That'll be part of land development, but the slope that goes essentially down that drive aisle there is the area that we're talking about. It's where grade goes from, you know, the upper level of the building to the lower level of the building. It's that same way today because the door locations are in the same location on that existing building. So it's an if and to the extent necessary.
Is there existing parking in that steep slope?
Yes. The bulk of the parking is there.
Okay. The zoning of this, is it zoned commercial?
It's C2 for the majority. In the rear, there is a portion of R5. So that's another nonconformity that exists today. There is commercial parking in the R5 district.
Okay. Okay. So the parking in the front yard setback then, is that shown, what exhibit is being displayed right now?
That is Exhibit A3, the
Is that
concept
that's
plan.
And where's the parking in the front yard setback proposed?
So you would have to compare it to A2 that shows the existing
Can you show it to
conditions.
me? I'm not going to.
Yes, so just on A3, the only parking space that is within that front yard setback is this ADA stall over here at this point. And then I will grab, this is Exhibit A2. This is the right-of-way line. The parking stall is flush. And I think it actually overhangs the right-of-way line. So today there are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 parking spaces that are in that 20-foot setback that have direct access to backing out into the right-of-way.
And, okay, and you're reducing that then on A3 to just one spot in that 20-foot setback right away?
That's correct.
Yes, the ADA stall for that building.
Yeah, so the auto body use, that's permitted?
That is a non-conforming use that has existed for a long time. Our client, or the applicant, purchased in 2011 and has continued that use. But again, because it's a use that has been there for so long, there is this great need to modernize. And
I just want to be clear.
Yes.
So, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be short. We've got a huge agenda
I know,
tonight.
I know.
So, okay, so, right, so the auto body shop is an existing non-conforming.
That's correct.
And you're looking to expand that existing non-conforming into this restaurant building.
That's correct.
But the restaurant was a permitted use.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm sorry, it's going to be duplicative. Maybe I took a note. The existing non-conforming square footage was, I don't remember what the number was.
For which building? The restaurant?
No, the existing non-conforming building.
Okay. Will, do you have that?
By building area is 4,500 and change, 4,600.
And that's pretty close to what the restaurant building is going to be too, right? Maybe 4,300 square feet, give or take?
In terms of footprint, just from a coverage standpoint, the total proposed building coverage in the developed condition is just shy of 9,000 square feet.
That's the two combined
That's the
buildings.
two combined, so yes, so
It's
it's.
100% increase of the use. Yeah, okay, okay. Oh, there was some testimony, I think it was from you, Mr. Yeager, about the buffer to the rear. Existing was 7 feet, or maybe that's what's proposed and it should be 15 feet, but I don't see that anywhere in the relief that's being requested.
Correct. Because it was a straight-up reduction of the location of pave in relation to the residential.
Yeah, currently there's no buffer back there.
It's on the residential properties, the parking lot.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have one quick question. So we're reducing it from 3 lots to 1 lot, and we're doubling the nonconformity 100% because we're merging both buildings. Has there been any thought into just making this 2 lots, 2 separate entities, and then getting 1 variance for the nonconforming restaurant, and then just modifying the existing nonconforming? What's makes it essential to merge the 3 lots into 1?
I think just generally, we have had this property since 2015, the 2 adjacent lots. It hasn't been utilized. I think the restaurant functioned at some sort of decreased level for maybe a year and a half upon purchase, but there's really no desire for anyone to come in and sort of redevelop or renovate those existing buildings. And because the existing conditions are so tight in terms of, parking and access, circulation, I mean, those are issues that the existing building is maintaining. So by eliminating that building in the middle, I mean, that's really what's opening up the site and allowing a lot of the development that we're proposing.
So I understand that. I guess my question would be is, why isn't it 2 lots? So you have 1 lot for the primary, for the developed building. I understand you're getting rid of that middle building to allow space to open up. And then you have a second building adjacent to it. Why isn't it two separate lots that you address independently, what is the essential need to make it one combined lot out of the three as opposed to 3 to 2?
I don't know that we've specifically explored that question, but again, I think that if we were to maintain, I mean, the existing building itself in terms of access and parking has some deficiencies too. But if you were to utilize just the 2 lots and combine that as one, I don't believe that we can have as functional of a site as we do now in terms of access and I guess design and parking and all of that, because now you'll still have sort of a bifurcated site.
Yeah, I think I see what you're getting at. If it would be the same layout, but with a property line down the middle, so you would probably have a bunch of duplicative variances then for 2 separate lots.
Wouldn't that provide some clarity on addressing the 100% increase? Because now it's 2 separate lots, you're just changing one use as opposed to 100% increase, and now we're not running into this issue with the change of use plus increase. I don't know, maybe this is a legal question for...
And I kind of look at that as, it's the same issue, and it's how you categorize it one way or the other, because I don't think it changes any. I mean, again, I put that in there because there's a question as to whether that applies, and I'm not sure that it does. If you just sort of look at this from a straight variance perspective.
Right. I think we're getting hung up on whether or not there's an expansion of a non-conforming use, where it might be just cleaner. As counsel said, relief number 1 and number 2 might contain some duplicative parts. If you grant a use variance for the restaurant and allow that use to change from being a restaurant to now a body shop, and don't look at it as an expansion of, even though it is, but you're granting of use variance, then you don't need most of relief number 2. What relief number 2 includes, though, what she does want to maintain, or her client wants to maintain, I should say, counsel, I'm sorry, are the setbacks. I mean, the building's right up on the border now, so you're preserving that as well for the building. So this is more, I agree with counsel. If you grant the use variance, you don't need to get into the analysis of whether or not this is an expansion and what percentage.
Okay, so this
Counsel,
isn't
did I
Yes, yes.
restate your position? That was my understanding of what you said earlier.
And this is sort of just overall under all of the circumstances type of situation, because again, you do have a non-conforming use that's going away, but we're definitely not meeting any 50% expansion limitation. I agree with that. But I think that it is covered under that overall use variance that we're seeking.
I guess I'm just trying to differentiate this from the Nova Welcome Center, which seems like very similar. So I'm just trying to differentiate the expansion and change in conformity, because it is a restaurant now. Even if it's not being used as a restaurant, it is a restaurant now, and then it's now going to be turned into a garage, and then you're doubling the footprint because now there's 2 buildings. And I also don't understand if these 2 buildings, one's the shop, one's the other customer center, I don't understand why they need to be merged into one lot. I don't understand the need for that to happen. So I'm just trying to understand. It seems like we're making it so messy by merging into one massive lot as opposed to just separating out the second lot and saying, we'll address the second lot independently, we'll address the first lot and the nonconformities and changes in the first lot independently.
And could I also just address an element of that question?
Yeah, of course.
I believe one of the reasons that it needs to be on one lot is, for example, you're going to have an office component in the renovated space, and you can't have an accessory use that's not on the same lot. So now you would be having an office use for the non-conforming motor vehicle shop on a separate lot. So it does sort of get into those accessory use and what's permitted issues as well.
Okay. All right.
Because it's kind of like saying, if we have one use on one lot, can we have parking for that use on an adjacent lot? And you would say no. So that's sort of the same concept, because there are facilities that are in the restaurant building that's going to be used for and servicing the commercial use that's on an adjacent lot. So it's not like we're having 2 independent motor vehicle service repair shops here. They are integrated, and that's, you know, the concept of, do we have 2 separate uses? No, it's one use. So I think that if we were to maintain it as a separate lot, we would run into those issues as to what building is parking where, what office is servicing what building, that type of thing.
Thank you.
You could accomplish what you're trying to do if you had a property line going right down the middle, but the number of variances would definitely increase. You'd be imposing more changes to the zoning code to accomplish that, which we try to avoid. The applicant's actually giving up a lot by consolidating these. Typically, an applicant may want to keep those separate lots. By consolidating them, they're actually reducing the relief and the zoning impact on the township.
And that is true, because typically you would advise against consolidating undersized lots or lots that doesn't have enough width, et cetera. But here, once it's consolidated, I mean, we would be very limited going forward as to whether we can re-subdivide and have, multiple uses along this frontage.
I was just going to say, I'm really hung up on this 50% issue. I'm having a hard time getting over it, because it's 100% increase in the non-conforming use. It's the use that is non-conforming, not the building.
Right, so the way, I'm now understanding the argument. So we're not granting special exception, well, it would require a variance if we were gonna go that route.
Right.
But I think if we were to grant a variance for the auto body use across this newly consolidated lot, then we overcome that issue of the expansion. Because we're expanding it by granting the use variance.
And maybe this is a simpler way to look at it. Anytime you grant a use variance, not this situation, but anytime you grant a use variance, I mean, that's 100% new, non-conforming use, that you're allowing for that site. So I think that we are getting hung up on the 50%. I mean, to the extent it applies, okay, we're seeking the relief, but I'd rather that maybe the focus just be, it's a use variance that we're seeking. We're eliminating a non-conforming use. We're asking that the existing non-conforming use be allowed to expand, which I think qualitatively, I mean, I'm the attorney for it, but I think qualitatively,
Expand.
excuse me?
You just said expand.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
There are alternative requests for relief were made in the application, and I think that's what's confused everyone now. But if you were looking at this as just an application involving the restaurant building and a business coming in here and saying, will you grant us a use variance so now we can use it as a body shop? That's really what's going on with that half of this consolidation.
Right.
So if you grant that, you don't need to consider that 50% rule. It goes away.
I like that.
Okay.
Thank you. If there's no other questions,
No, I think now's the time to ask for public comment. If anyone has public comment, raise your hand, come on up, tell us, use your address, get sworn in. Not seeing any public comment. Any hands raised? There.
Come on, John.
Any public comment? I'm so loud most of the time, I don't think I really need it, but,
But the people at home can't hear it.
oh, that's true, that's true. They're probably all asleep. Anyway, there's seeing no public comment. I will call for a motion.
It's got to be written.
Fine. I am going to break it into some parts, but before I move, counsel, let's make sure that I'm going to cover everything. So I'm inclined to make a motion to grant the overall use variance. We'll have to figure out the language. I think you need relief for, well, before I address you, counsel, Gus, so some of these things, if they need it, if we decide, I don't know, for instance, the parking, it's included in the requested relief, but they're bettering
Right.
the nonconformity.
And
So
it can
do
be
we
sta-
even need to address that?
It can be stated that way, that it's a reduction of an existing nonconformity. If you'd like to, if you want to make sure you're hitting each point and not be granting it as a variance, you could simply state that it's a reduction where it doesn't need relief.
Okay.
And we can put that on the record if you
I
want.
guess if the board is comfortable with that.
Just say it's noted and.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Okay, all right. Okay, that's fine. I don't think I need to go over the list with you then. Okay, so I'd make a motion then to grant a variance from section 280-51 that allows the consolidation of the three parcels, 378, 380, and 384 West Lancaster Avenue, for use as a motor vehicle repair shop.
Second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
The 3-to-1, it might just be me being arbitrary, but I hate to see such high degree of consolidation. I know this area very, very well, and I think the area deserves this treatment, so that's kind of making me lean in favor of this, but the 3-to-1 thing it's grinding my gears a little bit.
Okay, call the vote.
Call the vote.
Nay.
I'm in favor of this, I vote aye.
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 And vote, the motion carries, thank you.
Well, that's one section, yeah. So with respect to the requested relief for parking based on the number of spaces needed, based on the evidence and testimony, it strikes me that because they are reducing the existing nonconformity, it's really not an issue for this board. I would make, same issue with parking in the steep slope. The evidence and the testimony indicated that there is existing parking in the steep slope, and as a result, it's really not it's an existing nonconformity that doesn't require this board's attention. So I would make a motion then to grant a variance to section 280-105F to permit the singular parking space and the front yard setback, which lies within 20 feet between the street right-of-way and the property line, or the parking.
Second, second. Any discussion? I'll call the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries. One left.
Did I miss anything? I don't think so. I think that's it.
I think that. Ask our council. Did we cover the waterfront?
I think you've hit it all. It's their council that matters more than me. We've hit everything.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
All right, good luck with the project.
Yes, yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Wow, that was crazy. But you know, it's something that had to be, I mean, I'm just driven by that past. Turn your microphone. Oh, she should have.
And she comments, she's like, there's no stuff like this.
I missed the gavel, sorry, guys. Swing and a miss. The next appeal on the agenda is number 3257. Applicant Kevin Hall, Inspired Exterior LLC, property located at 4 Braxton Road in Zone R4 Residential. Applicant seeks a variance from Section 280-30C of the code to construct an addition in the front yard setback. Is the applicant here?
Yes, hello. I'm Kevin Hall, Inspired
Okay.
Exteriors.
You have to be sworn in.
I do. It's Kevin Hall.
Okay, Mr. Hall, get a microphone, or that handheld microphone, because it's essential that we can hear your testimony, as well as the folks at home.
Hello? There we go. All right. So like you said, we're applying for a variance from the front yard setback by 6 feet for a one-story mudroom with a front door, no windows, tying into the existing roof. This is the site plan from the surveying company, showing that variance needed there is 6 feet.
Is that the same one in our packet?
It is.
And I would recommend that as you refer to pieces of paper, you mark them as an exhibit. So A1, A2, etc.
Oh, sorry about that.
Why don't you mark your exhibits? There's a bunch of photographs. We're going to be referring to the photographs. They become exhibits. Your application that you submitted to the township is PDA, and the rest of the exhibits that you have will be DCP and so on. Okay.
Okay.
Sit down and do that, and we'll call the next one. How's that?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Meaning you have all of the pictures and the testimony and everything there, so.
We do, but you're under oath to testify and to refer to the exhibits that you have to explain and justify why you deserve the zoning relief that you're requesting, that you're seeking. And you do that by referring to the various exhibits, including this drawing, the photographs. I think you were sitting here when you saw the other applicants doing the same thing, correct?
I did. I don't have those exhibits here. I have given them to you, and they're in the PDF. So I apologize. We can go in order.
Let's just run through them.
Yeah,
It'll
okay.
be faster.
All
with
right.
Keith in here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to help you out. So
Thank
your
you.
application will be A1.
Okay.
You've got a statement of need for setback, A2. Oh, sorry.
That's this A2.
Oh, sorry about that.
A1 is the application. A2 is a statement of need for setback encroachment. A3 appears to be a deed. Step behind it. Yeah, A4, it looks like a letter of support, several letters of support.
Correct, from the neighbors.
And A5 then is your plan. Oh, right, and the photo packet is A6. So I do have a question. What's your relationship to the homeowner?
We are the general contractor employed by the homeowner to construct the mudroom.
Homeowners are with you tonight.
They are here.
Okay.
Thank you. So you have the application. A2, I would like to refer to the homeowners to speak to their statement of need.
Yes.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing
I do.
but the truth. And state your name and spell.
My name is Tyag Sadashivan. It's T as in Tom, Hyagarajan. Last name is Sadashivan, S-A-D as in dog, A-S-I-W-A-N.
My name is Giacomo Russo, Giacoma Russo.
Okay. Thanks for having us here. When we moved here about 4 years ago into Radnor Township, this is on 4 Braxton Road in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. We moved in with 4 adults, myself, my wife, and my 2 elderly parents. They're in the 80s. And then also my 2 kids that were 6 and 10 at that point, and they are 10 and 14 now. My dad broke his hip last year, and he was in the hospital, and so he can no longer come in through the kitchen door that we have. There's multiple steps over there, couple steps. It's been very difficult for us because every time he comes in, he comes straight into the living room and I have to assist him. There's dirt and mud dragged all over. So we use the doorway next to the kitchen right now, but that's not usable since it happened last year. Also, I've been helping them in and out, but it's getting not sustainable for us. So that's one of the main reason we are asking for this mud room as a relief. We've had a lot of rain and snow in the yard, so we're really trying to keep our house clean as much as we can. We do love to preserve the look and feel of the house. That's why we're not going for any more expansion. There's already a patio that's got slate on it. So all we're trying to, and the roof overhangs to a significant part of it. So all we're trying to do in this request for relief is to just put the roof and cover it up, so it becomes a mud room for the kids that are growing up as well as my parents who can walk in through that space.
One thing that we need to mention is that it is a Cape Cod. And so when you walk into the side kitchen door, there's 2 steps. There's a big door that you have to kind of lean back and then open another door to get in. It's very charming until you've broken your hip. And I think the thing that my husband did not mention is that because these Cape Cods, when they were built, they didn't really allow for like a bench. There's no place for my father-in-law to sit down and take his shoes on, take his shoes off, or just even have something for stability. So this will kind of give us that ability where we will have a space to put someplace for him to sit, someplace for him to keep some things so that he's not shuffling through the house trying to carry things, dealing with a broken hip. He is doing well, but we need to help.
The last thing I would say is we're not adding a living space there. It's not going to be heated and cooled. It's strictly a mudroom, and that's all we are looking for.
I have a couple questions for you. You'll forgive me, I went through and numbered them, and I didn't make notes. So I don't know what number the plan was, maybe A5? Okay, so are you able to show us where on A5 the other door is that you've referenced?
I might be able to. Yeah. Are you able? Yeah, that's really small. If you. The numbers above it, parentheses 12.6, parentheses. So it's sitting right above. That's just a marker for you to see what I'm talking about.
Okay. You're right in, okay.
It's right here, right?
Is that shown in any of the photographs?
No,
by
I
any
can't
chance?
say. I was looking at the photographs, which we've marked. I'm not sure what we marked the photographs, but I really don't see anything that stands out.
Yeah, actually, it is shown here. So if you look at where,
I don't think we have that.
I don't think we have that plan.
okay, but that's,
Sorry, they have physical photographs
okay.
of the house.
Do you have that, do you have an extra copy of that plan that you have up on the screen?
Yeah, because we
before
can
the-
add it to the file.
Yeah,
We'll
we
just
can add it
a
to the
number
file
it.
if you have a copy for us, and then
Yeah.
you can. Have
Yep,
this-
so this is the construction plans I brought in case we needed
Yeah,
them.
sure.
If you'd like, I can show you where.
No, we need to
It's
see this. It's not a, if you like. We need to see what you have down there, so the questions that have been posed by the board can be answered. So I would suggest that you pass that up so
Well,
we can see what you got there.
Actually, you should probably leave it on the table so we can see it on the screen. He only has the one copy, right?
You know,
Correct.
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Well, yeah.
Where did we mark this? A?
A7. So I see you're indicating that's, okay, so that door is on the front of the house then?
Correct. Next to the garage door. Here's the existing door. Existing front stoop with the proposed new mudroom.
Okay. Okay, and the proposed mudroom addition is this 6-foot by 7.2 feet extension? Okay.
Correct.
And the front yard setback, the required is 30 feet, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you're proposing to go to 24 feet?
Correct.
I don't have any further questions.
Any other questions? Okay, sorry. Do we want a copy of the drawings that we don't have? Yeah, we should have A7
I think
up
we
here.
should make A7 just that one sheet. I think it said permits.
Yep, so the construction plans?
I don't know if you need the whole set. We only reference that one page.
Right.
The one page? Okay. This one?
Yeah. So we should make that A7, but that we'll need for the file.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Want to take us through the packet of photos, just briefly?
Yes.
Put them on the table.
So as we're looking at the front of the house, here's the house here. This is the residence for Braxton. And then this would be their, if you're looking at the front of the house, the neighbor to the right. Street view from the right, I turned in a circle to show you the whole landscape. You've got the neighbor across the street, another neighbor across the street here. And then looking to the right, if you were looking out of the house, and here's their driveway. And then the letters of support, which would be A4, is of the 7 surrounding neighbors to the residents for the proposed variance.
Any opposition from any of your neighbors? Any concerns?
No, we've been there for about 4.5 years. We have excellent relationship. They all knew, they supported us throughout my dad's hospitalization, so.
Any other houses in the neighborhood that have a similar addition?
Several. Some are in the back in another street, Rodney Street. The one right next to us, they've expanded much beyond what we are asking. And the reason they could do that is because their right-of-way is actually the street because they grandfathered a fence in. We don't have a fence, so our right-of-way actually passes through our lawn. So we, in fact, have 2 trees that don't truly belong to us, I guess. So that's what caused this whole thing. If the right-of-way were at the street, there would be no issue at all with this with the variance that we're asking.
I do have one question. So just given, when considering a variance here, it's to be the minimum relief necessary. Have any consideration been given for, like, is this the only place this addition can be placed, or could it be placed on another side of the property, like in the rear, where basically relief would not be required? Or is this the most practical, given this situation?
Yeah, my opinion on this seems to be the most practical because the mailman comes through there, everyone comes through there, and that has the walkway through which my dad can come. It's a gradual step up to the house. Everything in the back, my dad has to climb over something, so that's one of the reasons we are. And then he has to walk a long distance from where we park the car in the driveway all the way to the back. So this would be the most practical for me to pull up the vehicle as close as possible.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, you have to, have any more documents, any more testimony? So the documents you've already handed up, which are A1 through 7, you should move those into evidence. Okay, well, they're accepted without objection.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board for the applicant? No? Okay. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I will make a motion in favor of approving application 3257, property located at 4 Braxton Road, for seeking a variance from section 280-30C of the code to construct an addition in the front yard setback, given the facts and testimony presented.
Second. Call the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. The relief's granted.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
The next appeal on the agenda is Appeal 3258. The applicant, Rockwell Radnor LLC, property located at 1075 Eagle Road and zoned PI planned institutional. Applicant seeks a variance from section 280-112-D and E of the code to disturb certain areas of man-made steep slopes. A variance from section 280-70.B1 to allow a portion of one proposed building to exceed the length/depth limit of 160 feet, to extend required, to the extent required, I think that means, to modify the prior approvals of Appeal 3113 and Appeal 3124 to reflect the currently proposed site plan, which has been modified/improved since those approvals, and any other relief deemed necessary. Hello, George.
Good evening. For the record, I'm George Brosman, representing the applicant Rockwell Radnor LLC. I have some exhibit packages to hand up. I'd like to make some opening remarks, and then I have two witnesses to present this evening. Greg Lingo, a principal with the applicant, Rockwell Radnor LLC, and the site engineer, Rob Lambert. In my opening remarks, I'm going to tell you that we're going to be withdrawing the request regarding the building length and depth. We're going to be presenting a plan that shows compliance with that provision. So the only thing we're here about are the disturbance of the steep slopes.
Okay, so you're not pursuing a variance from section 280-70.B?
That's correct. And plans that we'll be presenting in our exhibit packages and through the witnesses will show the change in that building. But by way of background, many of you were on the board when this project, which is a life care residence that was approved in appeal number 3113 back in 2021, a special exception was granted for this life care residence. Then we returned about a year later to the zoning board after the zoning officer had indicated the way that we had been doing the parking calculations as regarded the independent living units he didn't agree with. So we came back and got a parking variance for the project. Subsequent to that, land development approval was obtained from the Board of Commissioners, and all kinds of permits were obtained, and work is underway. Site work is under the way. We had returned to you a few times to get extensions of the time to get a building permit, which were granted. The application for a building permit for one of the cottages has been filed, so we're hopeful that we won't need any more extensions. Everything was extended out through the end of 2026. You may recall the property is in the PI Planned Institutional Zoning District. It was previously part of the Valley Forge Military Academy campus, which is next door. The proposed life care residence includes common facilities and 3 basic types of living units, as is common with these type of facilities. They're the independent living units, the personal care units, and memory care units. The applicant is proposing some modifications to the previously approved plans, which Greg will explain to you, and why we think they're actually an improvement over what was previously approved. Doing so has caused some disturbance to be necessary to some man-made steep slopes on the previously developed part of the property, and that's the relief we're seeking. As I mentioned before we filed the application, we had gotten a determination that one of the buildings, it was number H1, as it had been shown, required relief from the 160-foot building length and depth requirement. So we had applied for that relief in the application that we filed. But as I mentioned, that building is redesigned, and the plans we will present to you no longer need that relief. So I'd like to hand out my exhibit packages and then call Greg Lingo as my first witness.
Okay. George, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
The slopes that are being proposed to be disturbed, were they previously granted relief on, or is this something new?
The plan that we had before did not disturb the slopes. So the improvements that we want to make shifted some things around, and now these slopes have been implicated.
Gregory Lingo, Gregorylingo.
Greg, would you briefly describe your background?
Sure, I have a civil engineering degree, and I have been in residential real estate development for the last 32 years.
And are you a Radnor Township resident?
Yes.
What is your connection to the applicant, the entity Rockwell Radnor LLC?
I'm the manager and owner.
In the exhibit packages, we have, as Exhibit A1, a copy of the zoning hearing board application that we filed in that matter. As one of the exhibits to that, there's a redacted deed. Does this show that Rockwell Radnor LLC is the owner of the property?
Yes.
And for the record, that's Exhibit A to Exhibit A1. Would you briefly describe the property that is the subject of this application?
This was a portion of a former portion of the Valley Forge Military Campus. To our north, we are adjacent to St. David's Country Club. To our west, it's the remaining Valley Forge Military Campus. To our east is Villanova's Cabrini Campus. Approximately 24 acres we purchased from Valley Forge several years ago.
And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the Zoning Hearing Board and the Township have granted various approvals to redevelop and reuse the former campus as a life care residence. Is that correct?
Correct.
And for the board's reference and convenience, we included copies of the prior Zoning Hearing Board approvals and the land development resolution at A1F and A1G, just for your convenience. Greg, would you briefly describe the proposed life care residence?
Yeah, this is a senior retirement community life care residence that will consist of 9 main buildings. There's a centerpiece building that's kind of our amenity center that does have 18 residences above it. but that's where all of the amenities will be, the food and beverage, swimming pool, and that type of stuff for our seniors. The community will consist of anywhere between 220 to 243 living units with 295 total beds. It'll be a continuum of care from independent living to personal care and memory care.
And I put up on the table here, and it's also Exhibit A2 in our package. Is this a copy of one of the sheets of the plan that was approved and then recorded with the Delaware County Recorder of Deeds office?
Yes.
And are you and others at your firm spearheading the construction of the proposed life care residence that's currently underway?
We are. In addition to, we're also general contractors, and we are subcontracting some of the work, the site work, to Brubacher Excavating, and then some of the independent buildings we're also going to subcontract.
And what phase of the construction is underway right now?
We have, if you can see this map here, we started the spine road right up to about this area, and it'll take us approximately, I would say, until sometime in May, June to get to that point before continuing with additional development up the hill.
And have you and your team been engaged with design professionals and other experts to refine the plans for the proposed life care residence?
Yes,
And is that what brings us before the zoning hearing board this evening?
it is.
And at Exhibit A3, I'll put a copy up here. Is this the plan that we filed initially with the zoning hearing board for this application?
It is.
And as I mentioned, have these plans been revised to change, it was really this upper part of building H1. Has that been changed to make it comply with a 160-foot length requirement?
Yes, it does now.
So we're essentially substituting that plan with A4, is that correct?
Yes.
And this plan is basically the same plan, except this building H1 has now been revised to meet that 160-foot length requirement, correct?
That is correct.
So that the only relief we're seeking is regarding the steep slopes, which Mr. Lambert will be talking about, right?
Yes.
Using this plan, A4, would you describe the proposed modifications to the previously approved plans that have triggered the need for the steep slope relief that's now being requested?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the previous plan that was approved.
Which is A2.
A2. This shows, as you drive up the main road here, there will be independent units here, an amenity center here, and some independent living units here. And then this area was going to be for more of the health care. It was for the personal care and memory care building. The feedback, we feel like we've hired some of the best experts in the industry, and as we were developing this plan 3, 4, or 5 years ago, we didn't know exactly how the different buildings should be configured. We've since hired Vantage Point Retirement Services to be our operator for this project, and based on their input and input of many others, specifically also our architect, they said that as you come up here, we really should be moving this personal care, memory care building a little bit off to the side, so that as you are driving up from a vantage point, you're looking at the amenity center. So it's going to be certainly a more grand entrance, but in addition to that, this plan currently, as you see it, that we had approved, the road comes around here and it just kind of cul-de-sacs. The feedback that we've gotten from the operators about circulation, and then even some life safety folks, said it would really be helpful to have that road connect. So we're looking at nothing changes.
Now you're back to A4.
Sorry, now I'm back to plan A4. And as you continue up this road, really nothing changes until you get to this point where we have slid the personal care, memory care building over, and you're looking more at that kind of grand entrance of the community. We feel this is really needed for this luxury product that we're building. And then you'll see here that it helps with the circulation that this road now connects. And in doing this, we interrupt where there used to be a swimming pool here, and there used to be a home here that was graded off. Rob Lambert will talk about the steep slopes.
Was this plan presented to the Radnor Township Planning Commission for review on March 2nd, 2026?
Yes.
And did the Township Planning Commission vote to recommend approval of the requested relief?
Yes.
That's all I have for Greg at this time. Rob Lambert will be going over the plans in more detail, and particularly the steep slopes.
I just have a quick question. It actually looks like you've improved parking as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I noted in the application that there's more parking on this plan than there was, so the extent of the parking variance would actually be reduced.
I just have a question. Maybe this is for the next witness, but is there any increase or decrease in impervious coverage, any issues regarding that, or are we still within the bounds?
Rob will answer that.
Sure.
We should have him sworn
Understood.
in.
I do. Rob Lambert. So the question was on impervious coverage. Yes, this plan continues to conform with the ordinance.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Should I move on, or are there more questions for Greg? Okay, Rob, you've been sworn in. In the exhibit package at A5 is a summary of your educational and professional background, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And I'm sure the board knows that you're a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I am.
I'd like to offer Rob as an expert in civil engineering and land development.
Without exception.
Thank you. Rob, for the record, are you familiar with the property that is subject to this application and the surrounding area?
Very familiar.
Is your firm the civil engineering firm for this project?
We are.
Did your firm prepare the plans for this project?
We did.
And did you attend and testify at the previous zoning hearing board hearings on this life care residence in appeal number 3113 and appeal number 3148?
Yes, I did.
In the Radnor Township zoning ordinance, what % slope is deemed to be a steep slope?
In the zoning code, it's over 20%, and it has to be, I believe it was over a 10-foot horizontal distance.
And we have Exhibit A4, which is the proposed site plan. Do these plans show the areas designated as steep slopes on the property?
Yes, the areas that are in pink on Exhibit A4, those are all the areas that are over 20%.
And we'll get into the specifics of the slopes we're seeking to disturb, but is there an area on the property where there are generally natural features and natural slopes as opposed to the previously developed part of the property?
Yes, looking at Exhibit A4 on the left-hand side, you can see the blue line going kind of top to bottom of the page there, a little bit circuitous. That is a creek that kind of originates up by St. David's and goes down to Eagle Road, which is in the bottom left. And then on that left-hand side, you can see the extensive area of pink. And that's a steep slope that kind of comes up from the creek area up to the developed portion of the property. The other areas that you see kind of sporadically through the property, a lot of those were a result of previous development on the property. You likely had a slope that was less than 20%, but then they would put in houses, tennis courts, a swimming pool that we'll get into, and created the large flat areas. And in order to get the large flat area on a under 20% slope, you created steeper slopes in between. The interesting thing is in the Radnor ordinance, it allows that slopes created within conformance with the ordinance, and the way that's been interpreted is post 1978. So if you had a plan that proposed those slopes today, so if we built this, what Valley Forge had built, say in the year 2000, and we had a plan showing that, we wouldn't be here tonight because all those slopes could be disturbed. Many of these slopes that we're going to talk about were simply constructed before 1978, and we don't have plans of them, so we need to seek relief.
And you're going to show Exhibit A6 in a moment to really go into these slope areas on the existing conditions as they were before construction started. But just on this plan, and we can go back and forth between them, but point out the slopes in question that we're seeking relief for, please.
So on Exhibit A4, we actually cross-hatched the areas we're seeking relief. And it's a little bit confusing because we cross-hatched both the green and the pink areas. I should have mentioned the green areas reflect slopes 14 to 20%, which aren't subject to the zoning ordinance, but it was more land development question. So the pink areas with a cross slope, with a cross-hatching, those are the areas that we're going to be seeking relief. Starting left to right, there's a circle, kind of a traffic circle on the plan in gray. Off to the left of that, there's a small area of steep slope. Right in the middle of where that traffic circle is, you can see a small area of steep slope just above that. And then going to the right, there's kind of a long, continuous, I guess it's a J shape of a steep slope. That was through building H. And then that same slope kind of makes a right turn and goes straight toward the right, which would be the Cabrini/Villanova campus. And then the last area is just to the bottom, just down toward the bottom of the page from that. Just a small area is identified there.
Now, if you would flip to A6, which is in our package, is this a existing conditions plan when it was the Valley Forge Military Campus?
Yes, so this is Exhibit A6. This is an enlargement of the previous plan. So if we just took kind of the top half of that, to the top of the page is St. David's Golf Club. To the left is the Valley Forge Military, and to the right is Villanova Cabrini. You can see the blue area that is on the left-hand side. That is the creek that was mentioned previously. And then the large pink area to the left is the natural slope that was mentioned. So the brown areas on this plan are the buildings that existed. Many of these are torn down at this point. The gray areas are existing pavement. There is a blue area to the right, which was a swimming pool. And then a tan area surrounding that was the patio around that swimming pool. So what I've done on this plan is I've actually taken the pink areas and I've highlighted the areas where we're seeking relief yellow, just for ease of viewing them. So you can see the general areas, and I'll start off with the left hand side and work my way to the right. So you can see on the left-hand side, there were two dark brown areas kind of on the toward the top of the page and the bottom of the page of that yellow area. And those were two previous dwellings. And so you can see where they had those dwellings, they created a steeper area in between the dwellings to be able to have flat areas for the dwelling themselves. Going to the right, you can see a similar pattern to that with the two brown buildings. They say two-story dwelling and two-story dwelling. There's a band of slope in between those. Again, I'll show pictures in a minute, but that is the same configuration where it was just right along where those buildings were constructed. You have a small band of steep slope. Going toward the top of the page, you can see where it says basketball court with the gray. And so in between where the basketball court is and the house, again, you had a large flat area for a basketball court. They pushed dirt out in the corner, which created a steep area for where the house is. And in a similar fashion, if you go to the right, around where it says basketball court, I think it was actually a tennis court, basketball court. There's that whole band of yellow goes around that. So they flattened this whole area out where the basketball court is, created that steep slope in that area, created a nice large flat area for the swimming pool on the right. And again, that by having that flat area for the swimming pool, that band of slopes really just ran around that area. And then off to the right, again, that was just a small area of steep slope there. And going down to the bottom of the page, you can see just a small area of the very steep slope is disturbed with the proposed driveway. I will note we are disturbing the area toward the top of the page, so toward above the page from where the swimming pool is. But we actually have a permit for that because they created the softball field post-1978. And so we had a permit plan that showed all of those slopes disturbed. And so we had a determination from the township engineer that those were considered man-made and did not require any relief. And so those slopes are being disturbed. I just wanted to clarify that those aren't being preserved. They're just not subject to the ordinance.
They're being disturbed, but they don't need relief to be disturbed, correct?
Correct. So I don't know if we're going to get into pictures.
Yeah, at Exhibit A7, did you assemble some old photographs and some new ones to be representative of some of these areas of slope?
Yes.
And go through them and referring to each exhibit number, please.
So I think I actually did these right to left now that I look at them instead of left to right. So I'll kind of go backwards. So the first picture is Exhibit A7A. This is actually an older picture from when we first started working on the project. So this was, if you were standing in between the two longer brown buildings, looking toward the swimming pool. So you can see the swimming pool that's fenced in. It's empty in this photo. You can see the set of steps in the photograph and the roof of the building and the side of the building to the right. So on the plan, Exhibit A6, you can see the dark brown building, the set of steps going from the gray asphalt area down to the pool area, and then you can see the pool. And so in between the building and the asphalt, you can see that that's the slope that was there. You can see the steps that were in that location. Going to A7B, this is standing on the pavement as it makes a left-hand turn. So if you're going between those buildings, going east toward Cabrini, you're standing there looking out toward Cabrini. If you look out in the distance, you can see the Dixon Athletic Center, and there's an athletic field there on the Villanova Cabrini campus.
Let's get those more in the, getting off to the side there.
Oh, there we go, sorry. So you can see there's this small area where they had a shed and then the outfield of the softball field. So in between those two areas, that was the band. You can see the brown shed on A6. So that is the small band of slope in between there, kind of in between the large flat area of the softball field and kind of a flatter area out beyond the pool. The next photo is A7C. This goes back to kind of A7A, where you saw the pool was further to the left. You saw the building, the shed building. So that's the same shed building looking down the slope along the basketball court. So if you look at the right of that photograph, you can see the fence around the basketball court. And then on the left-hand side, you can see kind of the edge of the volleyball court, and that's this small slope that we're referring to. A7D, this was a recent photograph. You can see the snow in the picture. This is continuing walking down that slope, so closer to the corner of the basketball court. Again, you can see where the former basketball court is, and then the volleyball on the left. Again, just really, they flattened out one area and made the slope maximizing the flat areas for recreation. This area, this picture, A7E, is actually an interesting one. This was standing at the corner of the basketball court, looking back toward where the swimming pool is. And the reason I used this photograph, you can see the tree stump here. It's been dead for a while. It was gone. But I would note that you can see where they just filled where the basketball court is, and you can filled basically right along where that tree is. So you see the root flare on the right-hand side of the tree, and the buried on the left-hand side. Likely why the tree died, but they just filled that slope, right? And so they filled the slope along that area, and that was, again, wrapping around where this basketball court is. The next photograph, A7F, it's a little bit hard to see. So this photograph is at the bottom of A6. You can see where it has a series of two-story dwellings in a line. These are those buildings that haven't been removed yet. And it says, I had to point out on this photograph where the steep slope is because you really can't see it in the photograph very well. It's just a small area right next to the building. They cut out the slope as it went down the hill right next to the building to flatten the area for the building. I think that was our last photograph.
So given the plans that show those slopes on the old Valley Forge Military Academy campus and the photographs you have shown, in your opinion, are these man-made steep slopes?
Yes.
Roughly how large are these areas of steep slope?
It's all these areas are about a third of an acre. I think it was just over 14,000 feet of slope area.
And that number is contained on the Plan A4?
Yes, in the bottom left-hand corner of A4, the 20% slopes are identified. Oh. There we go. So on the bottom left-hand corner of Exhibit A4, there's a steep slope analysis table. It identifies the 20% slopes. Overall, there's just under 200,000 feet of 20% slopes. We're proposing disturbance of 14,644 square feet, which is about 7% of the slope area on this 23-acre site.
So with the site being 23.85 acres, you're seeking to disturb only about a third of an acre of slopes?
That is correct. And those slopes, I think it's pretty clear they were constructed when they constructed the improvements.
At Exhibit A8, or A9, sorry, we just put a copy of the Township Code provisions about steep slopes, and I wanted to ask you a couple questions about that for the record. 280.112 are the slope control provisions. Are you familiar with the stated intent of these provisions at 280.112.a?
I am.
And in your professional opinion, will disturbing the man-made steep slopes in question that you've gone over violate the intent provisions of the 280.112a?
They will not violate the provisions. We're actually, with our improvements, some of these, for the first one was to limit erosion and sedimentation. Actually a steep slope is more likely to erode than not, right? So if you have a flatter area, it's not going to erode, but if you have a steeper area, it will likely erode. So our improvements, obviously we have pavement, we're going to have permanent stabilization, but we're also building stormwater, right? So you have protect watersheds to limit increases in stormwater runoff. This site had very limited, if any, stormwater management controls before development. We're going to be installing extensive stormwater management, which will protect the watershed and reduce stormwater runoff. 3 was to prevent or increase the possibility of landslide and soil subsidence. Again, we're by all the improvements, our permanent stabilization, we will reduce or eliminate any of those possibilities. The area that we're talking about, 4 was to maintain adequate foliage over the covered hillsides. We're preserving the hillside really that exists. That was there in the left-hand side. These small remnant man-made areas I wouldn't classify as a hillside. And then to protect streams from increases in sediment pollution, the stormwater management controls mentioned will address those.
And in addition to the stormwater management controls, or I should say perhaps as part of that, this project has received a grading permit that was reviewed by the Radnor Township engineer.
Yes, the previous iteration of the plan, we received the township grading permit. We also received a NPDES permit. We'll be, after this hearing, assuming a positive result, we'll be amending those permits and approvals for this new layout.
But those permits and approvals specifically address erosion and sedimentation control, correct?
Yes, they do.
So that's another safeguard to make sure that the purposes of the steep slope ordinance won't be violated, correct?
That is correct.
Moving on to some general testimony. With regard to the requested variances to disturb these steep slopes, in your opinion, are there unique physical circumstances or conditions of the property that create an unnecessary hardship?
Yes, I think the configuration of the lot itself, the configuration of the previous improvements that created these slopes and isolated certain areas, I think it's really the minimum relief necessary.
And the fact that the natural slopes are taking up a good part of the left or western side of the property, are those unique physical circumstances and conditions that create the need to go over into this previously developed area and disturb these slopes to make these improvements?
Yes, we're preserving that, the natural slopes over on the left-hand side.
In your professional opinion, do these unique physical circumstances or conditions require a variance to allow for the reasonable development of the property in order to implement these plan improvements?
Yes, they do.
And of course, the zoning board has already determined that this use is a reasonable use of the property through granting of the special exception. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Has the hardship been created by the applicant?
It has not.
In your opinion, has the requested relief been minimized as a practical matter?
Yes, we've really focused the development on areas that were previously developed. So it's really just the developed portion of the site. We're bringing new life to it.
And as you mentioned, you're only disturbing, the slopes that are being disturbed are only about a third of an acre out of about 24 acres. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In your opinion, does that contribute to this being the minimum variance?
Yes.
In your opinion, would the requested relief for the disturbance of the man-made slopes in question alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located, or substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property, or be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare?
It will not.
That's all I have for Rob.
Does the board have any questions for this witness?
I have a question. If I remember correctly, there was some relief granted for some steep slopes. So does A4 tonight, the 7.4 something %, you're really testing my eyesight, is that in addition to the previous relief, or does that include what had already been?
I don't believe we had any steep slope relief on this previously, so this is all new. Pardon?
I was just looking at your write-up. I think it said.
I don't recall any relief previously.
Oh, okay, all right, so that's.
Yeah, we had the special exception for the use, and we had the parking variance was the two decisions we had. So we were looking for, relief on these man-made slopes, and also, the prior decisions have the normal language, they're approved in accordance with the plans and testimony, so we were also seeking that the board would clarify that if the board was willing to approve these new plans, the disturbance, that these plans would be able to operate under the prior approvals, just to clarify that.
Okay, no problem. I was just trying to clarify how that number looked.
Sure.
Any other questions? No? You want to move your exhibits in there?
Yes, that concludes our case. I'd like to move our exhibits into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that the relief sought by the applicant in appeal number 3258, Rockwell Radnor LLC, that the variance be granted from section 280-112D and E of the code to disturb certain areas of man-made steep slopes in accordance with the testimony and exhibits placed into evidence this evening at the hearing.
Second.
Call the vote.
Aye.
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 And it carries. Thank you.
And could we also, or would you address the other issue about the prior approvals will be applicable to this new plan?
By way of a motion or just by operation of law? Because I think they do, don't they?
I mean, you think it's like you want to make sure that this opinion doesn't impact those in any negative way, or?
Well, the township solicitor, when we spoke to him, thought we should put in the application that just get the board to acknowledge that the prior special exception and the prior variance, would apply to this new plan, since they
We can
referred to the
incorporate-
plans at the prior hearings.
With the board's approval, I can incorporate those two previous approvals into this approval and making sure that it's not negatively impacted. And I'll specifically mention the other two, assuming the board is
The
fine
board
with it.
agree with that process?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Excuse me. The next appeal is appeal number 3259, the applicant Jennifer and Edward Brennan, property located at 407 Midland Avenue, zoned R2 residential. Applicant seeks a variance from section 280-22, capital C in parens of the code to permit the expansion of an accessory structure that will be located 8 feet 11 inches from the property line. Section 280-20R-2 use regulation, and to demonstrate that the inclusion of a cooking appliance in this case does not result in the structure being classified as a second dwelling unit. Is that a variance you're asking for, from 280-20?
We were advised, I'm not sure which, yes. So good evening, members of the board. My name is Jenna Ward-Brennan. I'm wearing multiple hats this
You
evening.
have to be sworn in first, please.
I am the attorney presenting the hearing. I'm not
Oh.
sure if I'm going to be testifying. I can get sworn in if you'd prefer.
No, if you're acting in the role as an attorney, you don't have to be sworn in. You're going to present witnesses?
I have 2 witnesses,
Okay,
yes.
And your exhibits are in order?
Yes.
Okay.
To answer your question first about the second request for relief, we were instructed by the zoning office prior to permitting to get your permission on including the stove or cooktop range. That is why we added it to the application and the agenda. So I have argument and testimony that we believe positions the accessory structure to remain as an accessory structure, not a second dwelling unit on the property. So that's,
Okay.
we've been told we need to get permission. I realize
Okay,
it's
well, let's
not-
proceed.
Okay, I realize it's not necessarily a variance. I appreciate the advice of the solicitor to create an exhibit packet with the list of our exhibits. This should be consistent with what is in our application packet.
Now, let him have a second one. He needs two, one for the file down here. It's our secret file. We keep it on the floor.
Was there enough?
There's a what?
I didn't realize they needed another copy. I appreciate you summarizing our request for relief. The first is a de minimis dimensional variance with regard to the 10-foot setback allowance. We are requesting.
Speak more directly into the microphone.
Which is this one on?
Or you can use the handheld mic.
I'll leave that for the witness. So we are requesting a de minimis dimensional variance.
De minimis.
De minimis, yes. It's late in the evening.
Yeah. It's multisyllabic words, that catch up with you eventually.
A small variance from the dimensional setback of the 10-foot on the right-hand side to expand the accessory structure. And then secondarily, we'd like to present the stove, cooktop, and range request to you. So for this evening, I have two witnesses. First, my husband will testify with regard to why we're requesting this relief and what we believe you would need to make your decision. And then my mother. So really, we're doing this change to accommodate my mother, who currently lives more than an hour away. She plans to move closer to us so we can assist her as she gets older. The accessory structure in doing so will remain subordinate to our single-family home, and the accessory structure will only be used by my mother, an immediate family member. It will not be rented or used as a separate dwelling. Essentially, as she's aging, she's having difficulty with stairs. The current home, the main house, which you can see from some of the exhibits, if we want to talk through that, has multiple stairs at every entrance. So the stairs get difficult. I'll summarize that saying at the end of the testimony, I hope that you will agree the relief we're requesting is minimal. It's not going to change the character of the neighborhood, and it represents the least modification necessary to allow a reasonable improvement to the existing structure. So with the board's permission, I'd like to first present testimony from my husband, Ed.
Edward J. Brennan Jr. Edward E.W.A.R.D. J. Brennan, B-R-E-N-N-A-N.
Mr. Brennan, use one of the microphones, please.
Would you like to summarize your thoughts, and then I can help ask questions along the way if you miss anything that I think is relevant?
No. There's a button someplace on the thing.
Somewhat technical. Am I there? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so yes, my name is Edward Brennan. I am the homeowner, along with my wife Jenna, of 407 Midland Avenue. We are a 1893 home in South Wayne, a single-family, 3-story basement and a detached garage. The garage is an older structure. I don't know its time of construction, but it's certainly before the building code. Our plan is to improve that structure by extending it on its right side, and in so doing, extending that accessory space. The reason for doing so is to bring Jenna's mother, Nancy Ward, to move with us here as a family unit, allowing us all to live together, but certainly to manage her care as she ages. Both Jenna's family and my family have already experienced what it is to support a family member as they grow older, and we wanted to put ourselves in the best position for doing so. So that's why we're making this move. Our ask for a variance. Can you give me the?
If you could use attachment A3.
So
Exhibit A3.
attachment A3 shows our property. And if we look here, this is the main house unit. And then we have our existing garage space. And you see here to the right of it, the structure that we are looking to extend it with. And what ultimately happens here is that we approach this side of our property line, and the 10-foot, what is it referred to as? 10-foot setback would actually be 8 foot and 11 inches there as represented. And so we're effectively asking for 13 inches of space into that 10-foot spot. The reason we're asking for that is because the space that we're building here with Nancy in mind and caregiving in mind, what we want to be able to do here is to have the space for obviously exist in it comfortably, but also to accommodate space for like ADA regulations and such, so that we can extend spaces so that future caregiving, wheelchairs, et cetera, can be made. And it just optimizes the space a little bit more. Those 13 inches make a big deal in that when you start to build. I'm sure everyone is quite aware. I can pause there for 1 second. I otherwise would go into the need for the stove. The thing I would like to say before that would be, we view this as an extension of the home that we live in. We are looking at it as extending our family. It's going to be the same address, the same utilities, the same all one family. It's an integrated space.
I have a few questions for you on this topic, perhaps before the board addresses any additional to you. We feel that the proposed change in expanding the structure in any way that negatively affects the neighboring properties?
I would say no. The property from our perspective is represented here. On the back side of the property, there are no residences there. It's a parking lot. And to the right of the house, I mean, the house to the right is not represented here, but it's effectively adjacent to our house. This whole area is open. The structure that we're extending here, it's not disruptive, I would say.
Do you feel the proposed change will impact the residential character of the neighborhood?
The design that we have, which we can show here, I'm sure, we don't believe so. We took this through the HARB, the historic board already, to go over things and took in their assessments, and we have that approval.
And two more questions for you. You started to talk about this, but will there be any separate utilities or a separate address for the accessory structure?
No, so this is the same address, it's the same utilities, it's the same house.
Will it increase traffic, noise, or density on the property?
Will
it increase traffic, noise, or density on the property?
So the only person adding to the property is Nancy, my mother-in-law. So I would say no.
So on that request, does the board have any questions for the actual variance request for Ed?
Did you consider building off the back of your house rather than going all the way back where the garage is?
So the thought was twofold. First off, the character of the house as it is, we like to preserve. And then second, it actually has to do with your the neighbor question. It just feels like the property is so narrow, the lot is so narrow, we'd actually be more disruptive to the neighbors there. And meanwhile, the back of the property is quite nice. And the garage is actually itself quite nice, and we think we could make it a nice extension. And it gives Nancy a little bit of her own existence as well when she wants to spend time separate from being in the house with us.
Have you spoken with any of the adjoining neighbors regarding the proposed addition?
We have spoken to a few neighbors, including the neighbor to our right, so they are aware. There was no negative reaction. I'll let my wife speak because she actually had the conversation, I think.
If I should have been sworn in for that, but I do, the neighbor to the right at 411 is supportive. Also Kathy Agnew, our commissioner, is supportive. They've actually both said they wish their kids would do this for them.
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to say that, so she heard
You
that.
didn't hear that.
So.
I heard that directly.
I'll let Kathy know.
Yeah. I thought she'd be here tonight. It's late.
I don't want to make a big deal about 13 inches.
Yeah.
I agree, it's de
Thank
minimis.
you.
But can you explain to me how that impacts and why not just reduce it to 13 inches and avoid this?
Yeah, so I just think that the I just think that it's an opportunity for comfort. That's how I view it, and then just to make the options for the ADA areas just slightly bigger, and it allows for Nancy to have just that much more comfort. It seems just so small, but it's those inches count in living space is what it is. Because I feel like that square footage is a lot bigger number suddenly for her.
Understood. And again, I don't want to belabor 13 inches, but for instance, in that, I think this is part of A4, right?
Yes,
You
sorry,
have
yes.
that breezeway. Can you explain what that is? Why not make that 13 inches?
I think we'd
more slim, and again, then you don't need relief.
Understood. Yeah, I think that it's the space between that and the garage. Again, just trying to create some level of comfort from whatever's happening in the garage itself during that process, right? I just think there's some sensitivity to that as well.
And we intend to use that for additional storage. I mean, we are.
Well, we would use that space as additional storage for certain. But certainly some sensitivity to the garage is basically what I'm going to say, meaning exhaust and things like that, of course.
Okay. The indication that there's going to be a stove or a cooktop in there, does that requires a variance, doesn't it? How do we deal with that?
Well, based on the comment I think that the zoning officer made and asked to be included in the notice, I would just, my suggestion to the board would be restricting this, that this cannot be deemed a separate dwelling, can't be rented, can't be leased, which you've done in the past.
Yeah, we had something like this come up not too long ago, and if I remember correctly, it was approved, but with the proviso that there would be a restriction running with the land.
Correct.
That it cannot be, it can't be rented out to a third party or things like that, you know, so it cannot, ordinarily, you can do whatever you want with it, but if there's a restriction in the land, you have to agree to it. It'll be in the order, and you can only use it for this particular purpose. If you decide to, a few years from now, to take in some needy college students, you won't be able to do it.
We are open to, and we would most certainly agree to that. I wanted to point out, and I have done quite a bit of research, this did put us in sort of an awkward position. There's nothing in the code that explicitly states we cannot include a stove, cooktop, or range. So for me there was nothing for me, there was no part that I could, I'm sorry, there was no part in the code that I could point to and say, I'm specifically looking for relief from this.
It's not that immediately apparent, but once you put what the zoning officer in Radnor Township and in many townships, once you put a cooking stove or a cooking appliance, I should say, anywhere in the unit, it becomes a separate living unit, and that's when you'll run afoul of the code.
Yeah,
You're
you
not
can
permitted
only
to have more than one dwelling unit.
A single family.
On this
Which
lot.
is still our intent. That is very much our intent.
Right, that's why, so it's consistent with your intent, what this board has done, as the chairman just stated, what was done exactly at the last application that had this exact same situation, a cooking appliance above a garage, actually. The applicant agreed to deed restrict it, so there'll be an actual deed restricting you from ever being, or not just you, but anyone who purchased the property from you, from ever being able to rent this out as a separate unit. It simply would be for this specific use, like a family member, one family unit using this just as an additional area to live in.
We would appreciate that as a solution. That's what we're requesting.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would be our intention for sure. If anyone who knows me would know I would not want anyone else living on my property for sure.
Well, it would be there even if you sold the property.
Understood.
Any questions from the board? No?
Would you like to hear from my mother? I mean, if you don't have any further questions for Ed, perhaps my mom could say a few words since she...
Well, she's not the property owner, right?
No.
No,
Okay, and she doesn't live in the township?
not at this time.
Okay. I'm sure that she's going to support your, what you have in mind here.
Okay.
And you want to move your exhibits into evidence?
Yes, then I would conclude with that. We'd like to move to admit the full exhibit packet into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote.
On motion, yeah.
A motion, I'm sorry.
And before, just to add to,
getting
I would
late.
I would just clarify that whatever motion is made, that it would be conditioned upon the applicant and myself, and possibly the township solicitor coming into an agreement on the language for the deed restriction, which will have to be recorded before you can move forward with any permitting.
I'm happy to work with you on that, whatever
Perfect. Thank you.
documentation needs,
Thank you,
whatever
Counsel.
documentation needs to be done.
Thank you, Counsel. And that'll be part of the motion.
Okay, so now I'm calling for a motion.
I'll make a motion to grant the relief for a variance from section 280-22C of the code to permit the expansion of an accessory structure in accordance with the testimony and exhibits presented in the hearing, with the condition that a deed restriction be placed that limits the use to is it a family member? Or that restricts the use from renting it to unrelated third parties?
Right, well, that, even if they put a cooking appliance in there, I don't know if you are, I mean, part of the, you didn't make it clear whether you were going to or not, but if you ever do, that's what the language is gonna state, that if there's ever a cooking appliance in there, that this will not be deemed a separate dwelling. You could never rent it, lease it, or use it in that.
That is what our intent is to do. As you can see from the plans, on the preliminary plans, we currently have the stove cooktop
Okay.
included, but if you would not approve it, then we would have to redo the drawings to remove it.
No, well, I think what we'll do is deed restrict it the way we're stating, so if it looks like you are gonna go ahead and put it in, so we'll make it clear that even despite that cooking appliance, this is not a separate unit.
So my motion to approve is in accordance with counsel's or our solicitor's language.
Second.
Call the vote?
Aye.
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 Okay, very good. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with it.
I already gave.
Okay, good to go. 5-minute break.
Did you need the last?
Thank you all.
You know that I live in exactly that situation.
I don't know if it's on.
Here, I'll give you this, make it like. Yep.
Wait, Doylestown exit, there's not a Doylestown exit on the turnpike, is there?
Where you get off at Rose Road.
Oh, okay, yeah, right at 611.
Yeah, so my son lives in Doylestown, I live in Lawrence.
Okay, I'm in Bluebell. I'm in Bluebell.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm over at that, like, I used to work in Doylestown.
That lawyer who was right, George Brossman, he's in Bluebell, he's one of our tenants.
Oh,
He's at
his office is,
910
yeah,
Harvard
yeah,
Street.
yeah.
I don't know where he lives personally.
Yeah, no.
He's never invited me over.
No, but I know it's, Mark Kaplan.
Yeah.
So.
So you're in Bluebell. It's nice
I
area.
physically live in Bluebell, but work is in King of Prussia.
King of Prussia.
Yeah. But how's the daycare business so far out? Is it booming? Is it, okay. My oldest turned 27 today. But like, it seems like this group is having kids late, like they're getting married later, they're having kids later. Like, I wonder if like I don't know when I had that, because we can find daycare and say, why? Is it because there's less daycare, or is there just still more kids and it doesn't matter? How does it distribute? I always remember when we got rid of the diapers, we saved money, but what's that cost now? Like a newborn, like a 6-month-old now? Okay. That doesn't seem good. We had 3 in 33 months, so with all 3 of them there, I just always felt like I was writing checks to the doctor. Oh my God, I was just like. No, never happened. Something else. I always say like as they get older, like now, when you're in college, like things come in like $500 increments. Nothing's like, hey, yeah, like exactly. It's like, hey, I need, I need my fraternity dues. That's $1,000. Of course it is. You know what I mean? Like, and everything comes in just $500 increments. It gets more painful.
Okay. Is everybody here? Okay. Nobody ran away? Good. The next item on the appeal on the agenda is 3260. The applicant, Little Eagle Daycare, property located at 100 Matson's Ford Road, Building 3, Zone PLO, Planned Laboratory Office. Applicant seeks a variance from Section 280-63 to permit a daycare use within the PLO district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Members of the board, Bill Dion with the law firm of Silverang, Rosenzweig, and Holtzman out of King of Prussia, here this evening on behalf of Little Eagle Daycare. As the chairman mentioned, we're here for seeking relief tonight from Section 280-63 to allow a daycare facility or daycare center operate in the planned laboratory office zoning district. Just a couple brief statements, and then I have 2 witnesses tonight for a little testimony. But to just kind of set the table a little bit, I have with me Emily Pachowski on behalf of the Little Eagle Daycare, and I have Eileen Bagden on behalf of Brandywine Realty, the managing company. But as we said, the daycare center is only permitted in the township in 2 zoning districts, both by special exception. It's in the commercial office and the Garrett Hill Business Campus. So looking at, while I'm here technically seeking a use variance, I really looked at the special exception conditions to try to walk you through that and show how the incorporation of a daycare in the Radnor Center office complex will be a natural complement to the uses that are there today and be an enhancement to the community. The only thing I did want to talk about, because it will be a little technical, and I can walk the witnesses through it, but just the parking, because one of the things, and they'll walk through drop-off and pick-up, because I think that's the most critical thing when it comes to a daycare. But the parking itself, you require for a daycare, the space is approximately 6,100 square feet, and you require that there be a parking space for each attendant. You'll hear testimony tonight that there will be approximately 10 attendants. And then you require parking spaces for every 500 square feet of floor area. At 6,100 square feet, that comes into about 12.2 So there's rounding up, you're required to have 23 parking spaces for this use. The space you'll hear testimony was previously used for office, and then based on the township's criteria for office, requiring basically 5 per 1,000 or 200 square feet for every parking space. The space at 6,100 would require 30.5 parking spaces. So from just an overall parking requirement, our demand, we're to the positive of 8 spaces. So I can walk the witnesses through that, but I just thought it was one technical point that might have been easier to just say. With that, if there's no questions on procedural, from an exhibit standpoint, I was really just going to use what was part of our exhibit, or our application, so I don't know if you want to mark that as a whole, or if you want to mark, there's 2 aerials, there's a floor plan, and then there's a picture of the building. We're all included in the application, so however.
Why don't we make your application Exhibit A?
Okay.
And then I see there's some drawings.
There was a floor plan, if we want to make that A1, if that's okay. And then I have 2 aerials. We can make, those together, make it A2. And then there is a picture of the front entrance.
Now, one of the aerials, okay, both of those are A2?
Yes, they're just different orientations for the building. And then there's a picture of the entrance where the
That'd be A3. Sorry.
A3.
Oh,
And then I
A2,
don't know if you
A2,
want to make
sorry.
part of the packet was also a authorization letter from Brandywine
This
Realty.
photograph here, what's that?
That would be A3.
Okay.
And then there is also a letter that's accompanying the application that is authorization from the property manager to make this submission. So I don't necessarily think I need to make that as an exhibit, but I would just point that out, that that's in the packet.
Okay.
Okay? So with that, if I will call Emily to the stand, if she can be sworn in.
So it's Emilia, last name it's Puchalska, so it's Emilia, last name Puchalska. Slska.
Okay. So Emily, could you just briefly tell the board your relationship to Little Eagle Daycare?
Sure, so I'm the owner and director of Little Eagle Daycare.
And how long have you been in the daycare business?
For about 10 years.
And what's your educational background?
So I have bachelor's in psychology and master's in marriage family therapy.
Okay. And you've been in the daycare business for 10 years. Could you tell us where those facilities are?
Sure. So the first facility was in Havertown. I was there for about 7 years, and my current daycare, second daycare, it's in Ardmore, and we've been there for 3 years.
So just to be clear, do you have 2 existing daycares, or did you move from Ardmore?
Oh no. So the first daycare was in Havertown. Then from Havertown we moved to Ardmore.
Okay.
Because we expanded. Yeah.
And how many attendants and children do you take care of there?
I currently have 45 children, ages from infant to 5-year-olds.
And how many attendants do you have at that facility?
45. You mean 10, around 10.
Okay. And are you licensed by the Department of Human Services for Pennsylvania?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And have you ever had any violations or citations associated with your license?
No,
Okay.
never.
I guess now when you look to open at this facility at Batson Ford Road, the why here? What drew you to this location?
So I live in Bryn Mawr. I have my daughter goes to school here. I think it's a great school district. I think it's a need. And there's a lot of young families and they need daycares, and there's wait lists in almost all of them in the area. So I think it's a really nice area to live, and families are really nice. So yeah.
And with any daycare, the drop off and pickup. So could you explain how you intend to do that? Is there a car line? Is there a parking spaces?
So usually there's parking spaces, designated parking spaces, and parents would park and just bring the child in to drop them off.
Okay. So would they park in the parking spaces that are already available for the office building itself?
Correct.
Okay. And they would have to then take their child into the facility?
Yes.
And then that is the one Exhibit A3, the picture of the front door.
Yes.
They would come through there, and then what do they do, walk down the hallway, or they just?
They would come in, they don't have to walk down the hallway. There would be a staff member that would, take the child and direct to the classroom.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
And then you heard me testify that, or at least state for the board, that the square footage of the space was approximately 6,100 square feet, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And how many children would you anticipate having at this facility?
56.
And how many attendees do you think plan on having here?
Around 10.
Okay. What would the hours of operation be?
7:30 to 5:30, maybe 7 to 5:30.
Okay. And then, in your opinion, the daycare facility at the Radnor Corporate Center, would you believe it be complementary and harmonious with the surrounding tenants and the neighbors?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And do you think it would detract or create any traffic or circulation issues that are unique to the daycare?
Can you ask?
Would there be any traffic or circulation issues that
No,
would be unique?
I don't think so, no.
So individuals would park and exit with their children
Oh,
just
yeah,
like they would do?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do you anticipate any negative impacts to the health, safety, or welfare of the general public or the surrounding community?
No.
And do you believe this is a needed service in Radnor
Oh,
Township?
definitely. Hmm.
I have nothing further.
Especially for infants and toddlers. There's a long wait list.
I have nothing further of the witness. If there's any questions from the board?
What are the age range of the children?
So 3 months up to 5-year-olds.
And are there any security measures that you take?
What do you mean, secure? I mean, we will have cameras in each rooms, and of course, we practice fire drills, every 60 days. That's required by state, and yeah.
Okay. And there's how many adults on the premises supervising the kids between, what did you say, 7 a.m. and 5:30?
Yeah, it would be around from 10 to 12 people, yeah.
And A1 looks like it's a drawing showing the various rooms and whatnot. Is this already in place in the Radnor Corporate Center, or is this?
No,
something
not
that-
yet.
This is just the plan that you would?
Yes.
Based on what, other daycares that you
Yes,
operate?
based on, yeah. Yeah, currently we have cameras. The doors are locked. Parents have to ring the doorbell, and then we let them in.
So you,
And there's how many buildings are there at the Radnor Corporate Center? Is there just one large building? I'm trying to remember. I haven't
five
been in
total.
there in years.
there's 5 total,
There's
but
5.
we'll have her swear in when she's.
And there's no other daycares?
Well, do you want to swear in the next witness if you want, or however you want to do it, Mr. Chairman?
My question is, there's no other daycares operations along Matson's Ford Road in Radnor Township? In
Not-
one of those
just
5
speak-
buildings?
not
Oh,
over there?
no. Not that I know of, no.
Any questions from the board?
Is there, it didn't appear in the picture, is the handicapped accessible?
Yes. Has to be in for the state to approve it.
For pickup and drop-off, that'll only be parents, like, basically coming and dropping off via car. There's no busing, shuttling. I'm just curious
No,
with that. I
no.
wouldn't think so, but to clarify.
No, there's like very small gap between the parking and the stairs and the handicap range. So they would just go up and drop off to the left of the building.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just point out in response to the one question, if you look at A3, the picture to the right, while it's a little hard to see, there is the handicap ramp coming up to the right side of the door.
Yeah, you can see it. Mhm.
This might be a question for Gus. Just trying to figure out, what is the planned laboratory office rules? Is it very restrictive? What's kind of the rule with that?
Well, it just doesn't permit this use. I mean, it's primarily for, what the title says, we have labs in the township, office use, and the PLO combines those two essentially in these types of buildings, but it doesn't permit a daycare. That's the reason for their request.
Okay, but it's not like a hard and fast, is laboratory like a general term? Is this like a?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
there's no more questions for this witness, I'll call the next witness. Great, thank you very much. Sorry, is there one more question?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
You have a representative from the...
Brand new, yes.
Okay.
So you're going to be sworn in,
And if you'll raise your right hand, you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And state your full name and spell it.
Eileen, E-I-L-E-E-N, Bagdon, B-A-G-D-O-N.
Thank you.
Okay, please use the microphone.
So Eileen, could you, who are you currently employed by and in what capacity?
Brandywine Realty Trust, and I'm Senior Property Manager.
Okay, and the Brandywine Realty Trust relationship to the property owner of Radnor Center Associates, what is the relationship between those two entities?
We own and manage the properties.
On behalf of the owner?
Yes.
Okay. And as you said, you are the manager of the Radnor Corporate Center. That's one of your responsibilities?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with the proposed plan and operation of the Little Legal daycares we've been talking about tonight?
Yes.
Okay. And could you explain what the Brandywine intends to do with regard to parking spaces to help facilitate the ingress and egress of the parents with their children in and out of the building?
We plan to designate certain reserved parking spaces for drop-off and pickup for the parents.
And that will be spaces that exist today, but you'll set them aside for that?
That's correct. They
Okay.
will be marked,
Okay.
just for the parents to drop off and pick up.
And you heard another question about any other daycares in the Radnor office campus. How many buildings are there total there?
There's 5 buildings in Radnor Corporate Center.
And how many square feet approximately is that? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head. No, not a million.
Okay.
But
Is there any other daycare facilities operating in the complex?
not in Radnor Corporate Center, no.
Okay, all right. And then from your standpoint, how do you believe that will complement the Radnor Corporate Center by having a daycare facility there?
In speaking with the tenants, they seem excited about it. They think it would be great for their employees to be able to have a place right on the premises. So for us, it's an amenity.
Okay. And you heard my testimony that I said that, or my statement that I said that the property was, the space was approximately 6,100 square feet. Do you agree with that?
It is.
Okay. And I also stated in my presentation that this previously was used for office space. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then as the property manager for the Radnor Corporate Center, do you believe that the daycare use here will be complementary and harmonious with the neighbors and the tenants in the buildings?
I do.
And do you think it will detract from the area or create any traffic circulation issues or problems?
No, I don't.
And you think there's any negative impacts to the health, safety, and welfare of the community and the neighbors that having a daycare facility would create?
No, I don't.
And do you believe would be providing a needed service in this area of the township?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Doesn't Brandywine have a similar situation in one of their other facilities?
We do. We have one at Radnor Financial Center, Bright Minds.
So I probably should, the question dawned on me after the operator walked away, but is there outdoor play space available for the older children?
Not right now, there's only indoor play space.
Okay, and is there, okay. Would there be any plan to provide some outdoors?
Yes. I mean, I was talking to...
You need the microphone.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, so I mean, there is some space to take the kids on a walk in the area and indoor play space as of right now. I was talking, I think they're doing some remodeling to the campus, so there is some hope for outdoor play space.
Thank you.
In the future, yeah.
Any questions?
I would just, if there's no other questions, though, this witness, I would just move my exhibits into.
Without exception.
Thank you very much.
Any public comment? I see one person is hanging in there. No? Okay.
I think we've got it
Call for
covered.
a motion, please.
I'd like to move that we approve Appeal 3260 for Little Eagle Daycare to be located at 100 Matson Ford Road. They seek a variance to 280-63 to permit a daycare use within the PLO district in consideration of exhibits and testimony.
Second. Can I call the vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and that motion carries. Thank you very much. Good
Thank
luck.
you very much, appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too.
The best place to teach children to drive.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
It is the best. I taught 3 kids Saturday, the place is empty.
He's the one.
Yeah. I was gonna put that comment on the record.
So when I was teaching my son, our elementary school was right behind our house. And I